See.
Is it live?
Hello, everyone. We are finally live. Sorry about the technical difficulties. And yes, as you guessed, we are missing someone here, and we did decide to just start without him. There are several of those someones, but it is okay.
Okay, you go. Take your.
That's the way to start it off. Start it off.
I'm gonna get you a go.
So if you hadn't noticed, your brother Chris was kind enough to make us all screaming goats for this, and so much appreciated. They do eat the prawn, and that is very symbolic of what we're celebrating today, which is the Quran's 100th birthday. It's kind of funny because it's the Cairo Quran's 1924 version or 1924 edition's 100th birthday. Now there have been revisions since, though it's still not quite 100 years old. But if we go with that, we want to celebrate. Let's celebrate. So today we're celebrating the Quran, and just like for Christmas, sometimes you have Advent candles to recognize the shepherds and the wise men. Today we're going to make some of our own candles to recognize what Islam has brought into the world and why we reject the Quran. And so, as you can see, this Quran is probably a little bit more beat up than the ones you have at home, but you're welcome to join us if you'd like. And so the reason that I reject Islam, first and foremost, to start it off, I'm going to go ahead and make this into a nice little square. And my reason is because Islam is false. And that's a pretty good reason to reject it. So while the Quran claims to be the words of Allah, it also disproves itself. We see that even in the sense that the Quran says if it were from any other than Allah, it would contain within it much contradiction. I'm sure we're going to be going over what some of those are tonight with my lovely guests and some more to join. But we are going to go ahead and roll these up. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, into nice little candles. And then I'm going to go ahead and start decorating a cake to put them in. So I'm going to just go ahead and bend that end so that it sticks in real nicely. And there's my candle. So yeah, if it were from any other than Allah, it would contain within it much contradiction. It does. It calls Jesus the word of Allah and the spirit from him, and yet it rejects his deity. And Jesus is good. So
All right. Oh, people complain about the audio. I'm gonna put these headphones.
Is our audio off, guys? Sorry, I did not scroll down in the comments.
That's the first thing you're supposed to do when you have a microphone sitting.
Sound is wiggling or unstable.
Wiggling.
Wiggling mean?
Wiggling. That's what I wanted to. That's what I wanted to plug in.
I have my.
All right.
Well, hopefully David will be able to clarify what wiggling is.
It's going in and
It says we can hear, but slightly MH. I don't know why that is. Let me try to turn off the background noise canceling, just in case it's echo cancellation and the mic reduce background noise, just in case it's those that are messing it up. Is this better or is this worse? I'm gonna automatically adjust mic volume. Does this seem better or worse? Mike Winger
Check.
is not here, sadly.
It's
He
clearer,
was
but it's
invited.
quieter.
It's clearer but quieter.
You're saying better, just low. Is there a way to turn it up?
Is it this one picking up or that one picking up?
I can turn it up manually on
Wait, you're not picking up
StreamYard.
from two audio sources. That's what you're thinking, right?
I'm just thinking maybe she's the one on the comments.
Okay. Hey, Derek.
Sounds good.
Sound is good.
Sounds
Hey,
good?
Sounds good.
Awesome.
Hey, tap on this thing. Yeah, it's just low.
Well,
Yeah.
I can turn it up on
No,
StreamYard.
Tap on both those things and see if, make sure it's not.
Tap the mic.
Tap that mic.
No, it
It's
sounds
not
it's
picking up on that. Okay, is this too loud? Testing. Is
No,
this
just tap
too
on the
loud?
mic.
Tap a mic. make
Okay,
sure
it's not picking. I was just making sure it wasn't.
No.
actually
Is
picking up.
this
Tap on
too
this.
loud? Because I turned it up the whole way on StreamYard itself. Let me know.
Give that a shot.
Testing.
Did I break it?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, there'll be a couple seconds of lag from when you're seeing it to when you hear it.
People seem to be saying that it's better. Some people said
Level is good. Not loud at all, just far away. Sounds great. No, it is fine. We can hear the taps. It's fine, leave it alone. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you
Okay,
guys
I
for
won't
your
touch
input. Hopefully you guys heard my reason. But just to reiterate, Islam is false. That's why I reject it. It says itself that it's not from Allah. It contains contradictions and worse. And it says that Jesus Christ is the word of Allah and the spirit from him. So, but it denies his deity. So that's why I reject Islam.
All right. So I'm going to tear a page out here. You can say I'm abrogating this page of the Quran. So I'm going to give my first reason of many, no doubt, as abrogation. The Quran declares that Allah does not cause a verse to be forgotten or be abrogated, except that he brings one similar to or better than it. The idea of abrogation to begin with is pretty interesting, that Allah would change his mind over time. But the verse itself really reveals what's going on here. Cause to be forgotten or abrogate, two different things. Something better or similar. Could it be any more obvious that the author of this is saying, yeah, I don't remember exactly what I said before, so I might say something different, I might say something similar, but don't worry, that's part of Allah's plan. So abrogation, my first reason.
Well, one of my reasons was that the most important surah of the entire Quran, which is this one right here, Surah Al-Fatiha, Muawiyah didn't know how it was supposed to be recited until apparently he went to Mecca and Medina, according to his own account. So this was supposed to be something that every single Muslim says 17 times a day, says constantly, and yet somehow, like, he didn't know how to say it right until he visited that place. So that really sounds like a big old fat bit of fabrication, or people were saying things in different ways because Muhammad said things in different ways his entire life until he died and didn't even have the most fundamental aspects of the religion settled when he died. And it all had to be papered over and made look nice and plastered over and fancied up, and the bits that didn't fit get chopped off and other things massaged in one way or another. And I have two because I'm going to roll one, but this one, we don't want to lose, Surah Al-Fatiha. So I am here to preserve it better, right here in these preserves, so that it does not get changed again, since evidently it had been changed already.
So I will go with the fact the Quran claims that the moon was split, but yet there's no historical evidence that it ever occurred. But this is supposed to be testimony to Muhammad's prophethood. It obviously seems to be a lack thereof.
The reason why I reject the Quran is false because it contradicts the Bible. And there's a great scripture that proves and shows that. 2 Timothy 3:16, which says, all scripture is God-breathed and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness. The Bible is theanustos. That's the Greek word, theanustos. Sometimes you'll see it maybe in the NIV translated as inspired, but it's literally God-breathed, meaning it is what God put into it. And so, since you have that and it's enough, the man of God may be equipped with Scripture. It is what the man of God and the woman of God need. The Quran is not what they need. So I reject the Quran because it contradicts the sufficiency of Scripture. 2 Timothy 3:16.
What are we doing now? Why'd you hand me the Quran?
Yes.
We're doing Quran Glowing
Make
candles.
Make a candle.
So I just roll it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did mine like hers because I was paying attention.
Hey.
Mary gets an A. She's the star student. Teacher.
I'm in my own different style.
Hey, how are we supposed to remember who said what?
Pay attention.
You're supposed to pay attention.
That's not going to happen.
So just do whatever you want, and if it's
I
a
normally
repetition.
sleep during the day. I have been up the entire day.
Just go ahead and say
I'm just saying, once we start getting up to 40 or 50 or something like that, you can be like, David, 7 people said that already.
The Quran is pretty repetitive.
Oh, okay.
So,
All right,
you know,
we'll
if
be
you repeat
repetitive.
yourself too.
All right, I'll give an easy one. Surah 9, verse 30 says that Jews call Ezra the son of Allah. And this is the explanation and the justification for why they have to be subjugated, as per the verse before it, Surah 9, verse 29. What's amazing is they don't get this. The other day on Twitter I posted, hey, fun fact, Muslims actually worship Ezra and call him the son of God. And Muslims start flipping out going, what, that's not true, prove it, prove that we do that. It's like, how do you not get this? How do you not get this? The things that you're saying, what, we don't do that, prove that we do, are the exact same things every Jew in the history of humanity would say. What are you talking about? We don't do that. And you say, yes, you do, because it says it right here. But anyone can do that. Anyone can make up anything. So the Quran makes things up about entire groups of people to justify subjugating them, even though the things are completely untrue. And that makes it canon.
Thank you. History tells us Lord Jesus Christ, eternal Son of the Father, died on the cross by crucifixion. 7th century, Allah steps in, and then, by the way, conversation tells the world, by the way, no, Jesus didn't die. It appeared someone like that, and no one knows what is that even means. So, Islam is false because Islam goes against history, Islam goes against Bible, and Islam goes against Lord Jesus Christ when it comes to his death and his resurrection.
That means amen.
Well, I'm going to be the voice off screen. Islam is false because it gets the identity of Mary's father wrong. Based on their timeline, Mary is a 1400-year-old virgin, and she is the sister of Moses, and yeah, it's wrong. And again, they ultimately get the gospel wrong, so that's definitely a point off for them. So you can just, if you can't hear the paper ripping, there you go.
Hey, is your paper clean?
Quran. It is not halal.
Oh.
What?
Are we going back or double?
Shouldn't the
Yeah,
Quran
let's go back and forth. That way we could just, yeah.
That means I gotta do twice as many as everyone else.
Wait,
No,
Okay,
she
no,
has
no,
the
no.
second one.
You
She
got
has
the two in a
second
row.
one.
I got 2 in a row.
Do it another one and then give it to me.
All right.
Unless you want half as
my
many.
phone.
Huh?
Unless you want half as many.
No, that's cool.
On my hotspot.
We planned this very carefully,
You think
everyone.
about
Yeah.
it and then I'll pass.
Yeah, you go first and pass it back.
Another reason why Quran cannot be the word of God.
Oh, wait, we're going back?
Yeah. That way we don't have to keep getting up and rotating back and forth.
It's in the
Toss
rotation.
it across.
Another reason Quran cannot be the word of God because, as it's been expressed, Quran comes to confirm the Bible. Bible makes it very clear that God created man and woman, and man and woman to become under the covenant of marriage as husband and wife until they die. Quran steps in and then makes it man and then woman number 1, woman number 2, woman number 3, woman number 4, and then goes. God knows where it stops. Disturbed and disgrace the covenant of marriage. So therefore, I think it cannot be from the God.
It's gonna rotate back to me. I couldn't think of one.
Now we're
so.
just going back and forth between these two?
Yeah.
Yeah, those two are doing the rest of them. We're done.
So okay.
Yeah, next time just go twice.
Yes, but I
And then hand it
couldn't think
back
of
to
one
Hatun for
at
her
the time. I
third
couldn't think of one off my head. So
So she can have time.
off of what she said, the Quran allows the prostitution, and Surah 424, I believe, and so basically, if pimping is not easy, but Allah said it's possible. So and He's often forgiving for those who sell out those girls, but yet they offer virtue. Surah 424,
No, that's what I thought.
and then 2430. What is it?
You go.
Okay, and that's it. It ruins the dignity of women.
Okay, your reference is.
You ruined the
4:33.
2433, yeah, that's what I'm saying. 2433.
Not even on camera, man.
All right.
Insulting over
What?
here.
Oh, so in in Surah 15, verse 9, most Muslims think that that is referring to Allah's protection of the Quran. And yet, we open the Hadith and we read in Sunan Ibn Majah, 1944, that there were verses of the Quran, multiple verses, and actually that only talks about the verse of stoning, the verse of breastfeeding adults. But it was actually about 200 verses, according to Ubay ibn Ka'b, that were lost from Surah 33 there. So Allah said He was going to protect the Quran, and did a pretty crap job of it, I have to say. And gosh, I almost want to use just the idea that the breastfeeding adults verse was in here at some point, but I'll save that. I'll just say Allah didn't preserve it like He said He would. I reserve the right to bring up the breastfeeding adults verse as a separate argument.
Yeah, dibs.
The Quran is false because it's inferior and contradictory to the way Scripture's methodology is for containing the record of what Jesus Christ said and did. Let me show you what I'm talking about. The prologue of Luke chapter 1. Listen to what Luke says about how he's going to be so careful in his record preservation by talking to eyewitnesses. Luke chapter 1 says this, verse 1, "Inasmuch as many have undertaken to compile account of the things that have been fulfilled among us, just as those who are from the beginning were eyewitnesses and servants of the word, handed them down to us, it seemed fitting for me as well, having investigated everything carefully from the beginning, to write it out for you in orderly sequence," something the Quran knows nothing about, "most excellent Theophilus, so that you may know the certainty about the things you have been taught." Now notice it says, investigated everything carefully from the beginning. Not go into a cave and have an encounter with a choking angel. That's why I do not believe the Quran. The prologue shows it's false.
Hey, hold on. I don't know why, I've always been fascinated by the idea of someone doing something for the first time that no one's ever thought of before. And I'm sitting here thinking, oh gosh, who's had a 100-year birthday party for the Quran? Stuff. I'm thinking that, and then I'm thinking, it was the same thought I had, like inventing Quranigamis. Like seriously, has no one ever thought of this before? But then, with that going, I just had to wonder at that point, am I the first person ever to make myself a walrus with the Quran? Like, has that ever been done before? Or is it like the first person ever? I don't know. I find that stuff interesting. I don't know why. Like, am I the first person ever like be a Quran walrus? I don't know. Anyway, sorry about that. Sorry.
My bet
Should have done that for your next
So they don't
rebuttal.
respect the Quran.
Yeah.
I would have to go with Quran. For my next reason, it'd be Quran 98:6, where dehumanizes Christians, Jews, and polytheists, calling them the worst of creatures. For those keeping track, that would be worse than pigs or black dogs.
Well, Jay Apologetics couldn't be here, but he's done an enormous amount of work on specifically the fact that the Quran is not preserved. And so, to honor all of the work that he's done, I have gone through the video of his choice and have picked out some of the funniest and most intriguing of the issues with the Quran as we have it now. And of course, the Quran says that if it were not from Allah, it would have much contradiction in it. So apparently Allah can sometimes contradict himself and sometimes make no sense, but if he did a whole lot, that would be a problem. But I would think that maybe you can interpret that as like a real definitive contradiction instead of like many possible contradictions. And one big contradiction is in the various ways that 1181 is recited, because there are two traditions that are very well attested from the very beginning, that when Lot flees Sodom, either his wife is left behind and is not allowed to come with him, or else must come with him, but does not look back. And it depends on the grammatical case of wife and accept your wife, which is a clear contradiction because she can't be with them and turning back, but also left behind at the same time. You can't, these are not complementary ideas the way some Muslims will claim. They are flat contradictions and they are equally well attested. There's no way to tell what it originally said. No one has any idea apart from going to the biblical scriptures and using that to edit the Quran, which is apparently what happened, which is why in Hafs we get her coming along with them and then looking back.
Oh, but you're wrong, Mary, because they're all the Quran. All the versions are equally valid Quran. They are all true at the same time.
And
There's
all
only one Quran.
Yeah.
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
there's only one Quran, but there's many different ways to read it. And
and
all of those
sometimes-
readings are completely valid Qurans.
And they're the same
And
dot,
they're
letter, sound.
exactly the same, except where they're different.
Yeah.
But wherever they're different, both versions are in the heavenly tablet.
Is it like
So
a
in the
Samsung or
heavenly
Apple?
tablet, at the same time, she both got left behind and went with them and looked back. She spawned a second identical one of herself so that both could be true. There we go.
Maybe there's just some quantum uncertainty there. All right, so we got David over there.
Hey, hold up. No, seriously, that's a good idea. Like instead of Schrodinger's cat, have like Lot's wife, but make a similar argument about
There
it.
we go.
And you need to make the argument in order to believe in the perfect preservation of the Quran. Okay?
You could have you had Schrodinger in the boom boom
Oh, in
room
the
yet?
boom boom room.
You could do the boom boom room and then talk about, so just like how I revealed that, she
So
died.
you have a dog,
Hey,
so
and he-
I would like to kill him.
He could hook the detonator up to,
So it would and would not
yeah,
explode.
and then you don't know what's, yeah, you don't know. Anyway.
She behind her, is she looking back? Is she behind her looking back?
Anyway, as I was saying, we got David over there talking about innovation, something no one's ever done before. We're talking about the 100th anniversary of the Quran. Both reflective of something we see very common in Islam called bid'ah, which means innovation. It's supposed to be forbidden, but when we look at the history of Islam, Islam is in fact nothing but innovation. You look at the Quran, you get one version of what Islam is. You look at the biography of Ibn Ishaq, originally written as state propaganda to try to clear up the story, you get a completely different picture. But that book is rejected by most Muslims today because that picture is unacceptable. You go to the Hadith, which are written after, or at least compiled after, and you get yet another picture. But that still is not the picture that most Muslims believe in. In fact, you have to go to Sirah literature, biographies of Muhammad, not early ones, later the better. Later the better. In fact, if it's written in the 20th century, 21st century, hey, that's the perfect source.
Sealed nectar is the best Sierra literature.
So it's just constant innovation. And why are they innovating? Well, because they're talking to Christians. And they're seeing that Christians are following the perfect man Jesus. Well, they have a vastly inferior prophet. So they have to keep changing who their prophet is. Islam is nothing but bid'ah.
You said vastly inferior for a second. I thought you said Vaseline inferior, and I was thinking, what is Vaseline inferior? What the heck is he talking about? And then I had to think what you actually said that would make sense, and then I realized you said Vaseline.
You are very tired.
He was in prison for 5 years.
What the heck?
Oh, God.
You hear this?
So I will do, since I'm on the edge, and I guess we're doing two on the edges, I will do part 1 and part 2. So one of the reasons that we know, even just from the Quran alone, that Muhammad was a false prophet and we should reject him, is Quran Surah 69, 44 through 47, which says, "And if he, i.e. Muhammad, made up about us some false sayings, we would have seized him by our right hand, then we would have cut from him the aorta. And there is no one of you who could prevent us from him." And so you can see if you look in the little scholarly notes or whatever that the right hand could just be with power. But also on top of that, what do we see when Muhammad was dying? And so here's part 1. So part 1, one reason, is because in Sahih al-Bukhari, 4,400 28, we see, narrated Aisha, the prophet in his ailment in which he died used to say, "Oh Aisha, I still feel a pain caused by the food I ate at Khaybar, and at this time I feel as if my aorta is being cut from that poison." Now I don't know about you guys, but I don't really think poison causes cutting of the aorta. It's not a really common symptom. So there seems to be a little bit more going on there. So part 2, another false prophecy that we see is, so there's 1, and 2, a prophecy that Muhammad gave, we see in Sahih Muslim 2047b, amongst many other Islamic sources. He who ate 7 ajwa dates in the morning, poison and magic will not harm him on that day. And yet we see that Muhammad did actually eat dates, and yeah, in that case, he still somehow died from poisoning. So something doesn't line up.
Maybe you forgot to eat the dates.
Maybe he should have washed it down with camel urine.
All right, I'm back up already. You've heard a couple people mention Surah 482. If this was from any other than Allah, in it there would be much contradiction. I'll probably talk about one of my favorite contradictions later if someone doesn't grab that first, but for now I just want to stick to the verse itself. This establishes a principle. Logically speaking, it's a conditional statement. If something, then something. A conditional statement is false if the condition can be true and the conclusion be false at the same time. So in other words, for it to be a valid statement, it would have to be true that everything, without contradiction, is from Allah. Problem is, most human books, at least ones that are sufficiently short, are without contradiction. People actually don't contradict themselves constantly. It's not a very strong principle by any means. So we have to conclude either that the Quran is false in its claim, or in this claim, which then makes it false because it contains at least one false claim, or that all kinds of things are in fact the word of Allah.
So the Quran, if the entire principle of abrogation is completely ridiculous and only came about because Muhammad was sitting there like trying frantically to supposedly remember whatever Jibreel said and then would sometimes forget it. And apparently Jibreel got mad at him because he was trying to mumble under his breath as it was being revealed. So Allah reassured him that it's okay if you're forgetting stuff, I'll give you something better. But that should not apply to things that happened after Muhammad died. And it was after Muhammad died that the goat broke in and ate the Quran, which makes the Quran uniquely the only religious text ever edited by a goat.
Is the focus like that?
And if we are going to have a holy book, I do not believe that goat editing should be a part of its transmission.
And there's plenty more for people to pick up on other editing ways.
Yes, so much more.
So I would have to go with the divorce of prepubescent girls, which is in Quran 65:4. If they are allowing them to be divorced and there's a waiting period, then obviously they're having sex with these prepubescent children, which is a no-go in my book.
What did Muhammad Hijab call that?
Opportunity?
No, he called it extreme form of pedophilia.
Oh yeah.
Extreme form of pedophilia.
Yeah, because the Quran allows, without the Hadith, if you reject the Hadith,
Oh, yeah.
that it allows for extreme pedophilia.
Whereas with the Hadith,
I think he said severe.
that was severe.
Oh yeah,
That's right.
severe type of pedophilia.
And whereas if you have the ahadith, if you have a chunky child, then it's fine. It's only the thin children. It's only with thin children they think it's extreme.
Hey, wait,
Chunky little girls,
is that why those hadiths say that Aisha's mom was fattening her
Yes,
up?
but that isn't even true because it claims she got fat on cucumbers.
Yeah,
and
I
that's,
know what's going on
well,
there.
that's based on
That's a lot of
the
cucumber.
Well, it's based on the four humors theory, cucumbers are wet and cold, so they should make you fat. So it was made up on later times by people who want to claim that this principle was in force then, when it wasn't. Because Aisha herself said she was so thin that nobody knew that the camel left without her because she was very thin. So she can't be both chunky and thin. She was actually very thin and small.
Schrodinger's Aisha. Actually, you guys hear Derek? He gave a really funny answer. He said, what did Muhammad Hijab call it? He said, opportunity.
It's awful but accurate.
It's kind of a funny answer. No one really gave him credit for that. All right. Reason why the Quran is false
Wife material.
is it's directly it falls in line directly with something that is described in Galatians 1 as anathema. The Quran literally is anathema by its own origin story of how it came to be. When you read Galatians 1, 6 through 10, which I will now do, the Quran is anathema, which means accursed, and therefore the messenger. I marvel that you are so quickly deserting him who called you by the grace of Christ for a different gospel, which is really not another, only there are some who are disturbing you and want to distort the gospel of Christ. Now, that's in the first century, but years later, Muhammad would come and he would be disturbing people, distorting the gospel of Christ. But even if we or an angel from heaven should proclaim to you a gospel contrary to the gospel we have proclaimed to you, let him be anathema, accursed. And then it's so important it gets repeated. As we have said before, so I say again now, if any man is proclaiming to you a gospel contrary to what you receive, let him be accursed. For I am. Now, that's exactly what he's talking about right there. It's exactly what's being discussed. So it's another reason why the Quran is false. There you go, Walrus Man.
I'm so glad you made that.
Can you explain to them what we're doing with the goats here?
You wanna talk about your original concept?
What, the
behind
original... Well, goat ate the Quran. That's about the...
it? Yeah.
No,
sum
why
total.
we're doing this.
Oh,
What
why?
we're doing for some and others is they're basically amens.
Amen.
Yeah.
Hooray!
Oh, the whole reason I made these was I got banned off TikTok.
These
My
specific
stream got
ones,
banned
yeah.
off TikTok, so I made a whole bunch of these things. Just for the fun of it.
Wait, did your stream get banned that had a goat in it? Or was that
It was just a Q&A, and Muslims flagged it.
Yeah, they do mass flagging.
They did mass flagging attacks, so I'm like, oh, okay, I got a few extra minutes here. I might
Okay,
as well
so
make
punishments
some.
for mass flagging, okay. I was just trying to figure out why the goats specifically.
Because they're cool.
Well, yeah. I
Because
mean,
he made one for David and then it took off.
He was
So-
punished for making trouble in the land.
Oh, that was funny because that all started with me just saying, "Hey, send me a goat."
Yeah,
Then
for
you go for
Christmas.
Christmas, like, I got an idea.
All right, and speaking of breastfeeding adults, all right, so you have the Quran. We talked about Allah not being able to protect the Quran as he supposedly promised in Surah 15, verse 9. But let's just consider the lack of preservation a separate problem. Let's talk about the eternal Quran. The eternal Quran. According to the eternal Quran, if a woman that you're married to, gentlemen, if you're married to a woman and she has to be around another man, a grown man, when you're gone, and you're worried, oh no, what if they're going to be attracted to each other? The eternal Quran, it's no longer in this Quran, a sheep ain't the only copy, or goat, depending on the source. But in the eternal Quran, it's still there. That if you're worried about your wife being attracted to another man, possibly doing something with him while you're gone, the woman, your wife, needs to breastfeed the man 10 times. Needs to breastfeed him 10 times. And that way, he'll feel like her son, and they won't be sexually attracted to each other.
But Allah made you start to fight because He was.
That's your
patient.
next one. See, I led you right into it. That's it. The eternal Quran says 10 and 5, right?
No, because Allah was merciful. Allah made it to 5.
Yeah, but those are both Quran, so they're both in the eternal
Yeah.
Quran, right?
Both of them shows Allah merciful.
Well, him being merciful, I guess, would depend on who the woman was, right?
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Ah. Really?
Who said amen?
One of the reasons Quran is false is because I think it
You
was.
just had the reason right there.
No, I was just correcting you because you were accusing Allah of being merciless.
You have time. You'll be back in a minute. Go ahead, give it.
I'm just saying, the 5 and 10 in the eternal Quran, that's a problem, right? Allah's eternal speech, which he says contains no significant discrepancies and so on. That's another eternal one. Oh, sorry.
Somebody in the
Five
live
is not a
chat.
big number.
Somebody in the live chat says eternal.
Eternal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it will go
Go
down
ahead.
in history that it has been eaten.
One of the reasons Quran is false, I think it was Wakem who expressed how Bible is written by people who were eyewitness to Lord Jesus Christ, and when it comes to Quran, one of the eyewitness or one of the being who brought Quran to Muhammad was a tree. Of course, I don't know if it was fig tree, if it was apple tree, I don't know what it is, but according to Sahih Bukhari 38:59, it was a tree who informed Muhammad about the revelation that came to Allah. Sorry, that came to Muhammad.
Hello again. One of the most obvious contradictions in the Quran is Surah 44:58. Let me get that for you in a second. Let me see if I got it. It says, "Verily we have made this Quran easy in the tongue in order that they may give heed." So it's easy to understand, well, clear, and so we don't understand the Quran. Allah knows best when it comes to the most difficult verses in the Quran. So that's a contradiction. And then if you memorize the original Quran, Allah gives you something else that He'll cause you to forget it. So these are just a bunch of contradictions. The other contradiction is, what is the one sin that Allah will not forgive?
Sure.
Shirk, baby, shirk. You do. Anyway, so Allah shirk. So with that, the children of Israel, according to the Quran, worship the golden calf. Did not Allah forgive them?
Oh,
He did.
interesting.
So
Did
That's
you
what
grab
I
two?
haven't thought about
You
before.
got 2
You need
pages.
2 pages.
Yeah.
2 pages. Oh,
Yeah.
dose. Oh,
Yeah. 'cause
You get 2 reasons.
Don't be slacking.
Amateur,
Oh.
amateur.
yoink.
While you're passing that and you're thinking of your next one, I just want to show you guys what I've been working on, and hopefully we will be able to continue this shortly. So I am making Quran cakes, and I don't know how close you guys can see, but we can do close-ups later. It's for our enjoyment, but also I got some halal food coloring markers to make a huge Quran cake for our candles. So stay tuned. Go ahead.
One of the many reasons that Quran is false, because when we hear how Quran came to us, we are informed by Muslims that even Muhammad didn't know what was happening when he was reciting Surah Rum. In the occasion when he got confused, people expressed that the way he was reciting the surah was wrong. He stood up and blamed Satan, and reason for that is because people turn up the prayer without wudu. I think that was just rubbish excuse, and followers of Islam simply fall into it.
That's right.
Hey, bub. Sorry, Deadpool and Wolverine's coming out.
I see.
I see Wolverine.
It's going all Wolverine.
Who am I?
No, what you should have did is read it the whole time like that, and when you're done, go, no, sit.
There you go. That's more from the comics, though. Hey, anyone talked about Alexander?
Nope, not yet.
No?
No, not
That's like
yet.
the obvious one.
I,
And there's like 17 different problems just from that passage. But I'll start with the obvious. According to Surah 18, verse 86, Dul Qarnayn, obviously Alexander the Great, because the entire story is taken from the Alexander romance. But Alexander the Great traveled so far west, he actually found the place where the sun sets. Where does the sun set? The sun sets in a pool of muddy water. And you can say, no, what it actually means is it's reflecting off a pool. Wrong, wrong. Muhammad himself said in Sunan Abu Dawud that the sun sets in a muddy pool. He wasn't even talking about Surah 18 verse 8. He was just telling his companions where the sun sets. Sun sets in a muddy pool, according to the Quran. And guess what? It doesn't.
Liar.
Thank you for the clarification. Next reason why the Quran is false is because Muhammad can't outdo the Son of God. Now, specifically, I'm going to Hebrews chapter 1. If you look at Hebrews chapter 1, it basically gives the whole Old Testament situation in a quick survey, little nutshell. And here's what it says. I'm going to read it, and then it brings in Jesus as the climax of that, superior and surpassing all those who came before, and includes being superior and surpassing all of those who would come after, because they will not match not only his character and wisdom and power, but his sheer ontological value as the Son of God, not merely a creature. Here's what it says, Hebrews 1:1. God, having spoken long ago to the fathers, that means Hebrews, by the way, just saying Muhammad, and the prophets in many portions and in many ways, in these last days spoke to us in his Son. Now listen to the description of the Son. Whom he appointed heir of all things. Is Muhammad appointed heir of all things? Through whom also he made the worlds. Is Muhammad the one whom God made the worlds? Who is the radiance of his glory? Is Muhammad the radiance of the glory of God? The exact representation of his nature. Is Muhammad the exact representation of God's nature? And upholds all things by the word of his power. Is Muhammad uphold all things by the word of his power? Who, having accomplished cleansing for sins, has Muhammad accomplished cleansing for sins? No, he destroyed the way in which it's done, at least in his literature. Follow? Sat down at the right hand of the Majesty on high. Did Muhammad sit down at the right hand of the Majesty on high? Having become so much better than the angels, as he has inherited a more excellent name than they. Did Muhammad do any of that? The answer is no, he did not. It's another reason why the Quran is false.
See, I wish we had some silk garments that Muhammad stole to throw them.
Silk garments?
That Muhammad stole.
If we had some silk garments that Muhammad possessed, we would have to first clean them extensively.
And not like Aisha did.
No.
No fingernails involved.
I would give that job to Tony Rogers.
Oh, God.
Which you can hate on
He
because
said
he
under
ditched
black
us.
like they would shine bright.
Yeah, he was supposed to be here, just so everyone knows. And
He
he's like,
was here and then he left.
yeah, he was here. And then he's like, I'm going to go get Starbucks. Forget the club birthday party.
He had to go do the least Italian thing ever, go to a Starbucks.
That's what we in the apologetics world call a traitor.
Sounds to me like he's making trouble in the land. What should be done with such a one as this?
Well, I'm glad that we're not Islamic because, yeah, you would not be alive.
Okay, so next one for me is Quran 23:6. It endorses and allows for sex slavery, bestiality, incest, necrophilia, and basically any other aphilia you could desire.
That's what I'm talking about, said every Dawa guy ever.
Yes. But don't you understand that men have needs? So Allah judges God by knowing that men have needs.
Allah made us like this.
Oh my goodness, they always say that. Always!
Oh, I've got a good reason based on what you said.
So, my next reason, everybody's been talking about how the Quran contradicts the gospel, and the fact that Muhammad uses the word for gospel, which is translated as good news typically in the Quran, and he talks about bringing good news of a painful torment, which just kills me every time I read it. He's like, and I bring good news of a painful torment. It's like, you don't understand what good news is, dude. You don't even understand what it is in like the generic sense, much less the good news. So Muhammad's butchery of the word gospel in the Bible, or in the Quran, stealing a word from the Bible and then butchering it. There you go.
Yeah, a lot of words don't even have meanings. As you guys can tell if you ask like Muslims, like, what does Messiah mean? It's interesting.
Well, in Arabic it means something different.
What is that different?
Every word means whatever you want when you're reading in Arabic. Alright, so David mentioned Dhul Qarnayn. He said there's 17 problems with that story. Maybe
Don't be stealing my story.
Maybe we'll
Surah 18 is off limits. It's mine.
No. I already planned on talking about American
If
Attacks.
Muhammad can steal stories, so can he.
So he mentioned there's many problems with the content of the story. I'm not going to mention any of the content of the story. I'm in fact going to talk about what the Islamic sources, not Jews or Christians or other critics of Islam, but what the Islamic sources tell us about this story. It appears that some men came to Muhammad to give him a test to see whether he was a true prophet or not. They asked him 3 questions, one of which leads to the story of Dhul Qarnayn, about a traveler that went to the ends of the earth. And he comes up with the story of Alexander the Great, Dhul Qarnayn, after asking around for a while. Unfortunately, he forgot to say, he said, I will tell you the answer tomorrow. But he forgot to say inshallah, apparently, even though that had never been commanded by Allah before, and thus, Allah, I almost said Muhammad, but you can forgive me you can forgive me for confusing the two. Allah decided to leave his best prophet without an answer, embarrassed at this prophetess for an extended period of time, because he forgot to say the magic word. And this story is indicative of what we find often in either hadith collections or tafsirs, which try to explain the verses. We hear these stories that reveal what's really going on. It's like, how could people read these stories and not see how freaking obvious it is that this is just a guy making stuff up? He's asked this question, he's like, and then he asks a bunch of his friends, no one knows the answer, so he can't reveal it until he finds someone who can give him the answer. But even when he gets the answer, he still doesn't have all the details, so he has to say, only Allah knows the answer. Or few people know, but Allah knows. Interesting that Allah wouldn't tell him.
Yeah, a few people do know, but just not him.
That's right.
Right.
Because a lot of stuff tell him.
So, some more reasons would be, one, unlike Muslims that claim Christians pray to a man and don't recognize that Jesus Christ is God and we're praying to God, Muslims are actually commanded to pray to a man, that man being Muhammad. So while lots of Muslims will claim this is not true, we see in Sahih al-Bukhari 831, narrated, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, Abdullah said, whenever we prayed behind the Prophet, we used to recite in sitting, peace be on Gabriel, Michael, peace be on so-and-so. Once Allah's apostle looked back at us and said, Allah himself is this is kind of tiny, salam, peace, and if any one of you prays, then he should say, all the compliments, prayers, and good things are due to Allah. Peace be on you, O Prophet, and Allah's mercy and blessings be on you. Peace be on us and on the true pious slaves of Allah. So while in prayer, Muhammad is commanding them to say, peace be on you. If I'm praying for, as I think this is an example you give a lot, if I'm praying for my grandma, I'm going to say, God, please give my grandma peace, not peace be on you, oh grandma. That's a little concerning. So that is one reason. And we also see this in many other places as well. So we see this in Sunan Ibn Majah 1385, where we see Muhammad commanding intercession through him in prayer. So essentially he commands someone to say, oh Muhammad, in the middle of the prayer, "O Muhammad, I have turned to my Lord by virtue of your intercession concerning this need of mine, so that it may be met. O Allah, accept his intercession concerning me." That's concerning. We also see in Reliance of the Traveler, lots of places that this is from, that this is even commanded after Muhammad's death, that people are still commanded to pray to Muhammad for intercession. So, big concerns. Now, something David said earlier, from number 2, is going to be that women are insufficient, but not because of anything that they did on their own necessarily. You know, some of it maybe, but because they're deficient in religion, because of a way that Allah made them. Now, this is not just like some sin nature type of thing, but this is in fact the way that that Allah has made them. So he chose how to make them and still made them deficient. That seems like he instead is deficient.
Strange that the perfect God created the universe to be deficient. Such a shame. All right, so earlier.
He isn't.
Well, you know.
Isn't the creator of the universe?
Right,
that
right.
is, yeah.
Yeah. Allah, who's supposedly the creator of the universe, is deficient. All right. So earlier I said maybe I'd have a chance to talk about my favorite contradiction in the Quran. There are a handful of what I would consider true contradictions that there's no real answer to. But my personal favorite is a simple question: who was the first Muslim? I've asked many Muslims this question. Most refuse to answer. Occasionally I get someone who answers, and if they do answer, they almost always say Adam, which isn't even one of the answers the Quran gives, amazingly enough. The Quran gives 4 answers for who the first Muslim was. Muhammad, of course. Abraham, reasonable enough. Moses, or some random Egyptians. You take your pick, but it's got to be one of those. And they always try to say, well, you know, it's if you get apologists will say, it's just the first among those people or something. But there's no indication of that in the Quran. There's no contextual reason to believe that. In fact, Mary just whispered it's impossible. She has proven that on my stream.
Hey, I have to say, the correct answer.
Is Allah.
Yeah, she got me there. I was going to say Satan because he's the first one who refused to bow down
Yeah.
to the first troop. But no, Allah was the one who.
Because he's a believer.
He recited the Shahada, yeah.
Right, he's the believer. If you're a believer, you're a Muslim. So he has to be a Muslim. Not
So
all
who's
Muslims
the
are believers,
second
but also
Muslim?
he's a Muslim.
So Allah is the first Muslim, Satan is second. Okay, we're good.
All right, awesome.
Do you
You
think
gotta
he
tell
made
the
it?
story when it
Do you
gets to
think?
you.
Do you think Allah made Satan convert by the power of the sword, like the standard way? Was it a forced shahada?
Okay, so another one that Jay brought up was 3:19. Now, our current version in the house, and that everyone believes is like what it always said was, surely the religion with Allah is Islam. However, Ibn Masud, he said that it read, surely the religion with Allah is Al-Hanafiya. And it's not just Ibn Masud. Many people were reciting this. In fact, another reciter of Asim. So Hafs learned the Quran from Asim, supposedly. But Hafs is a known liar, guys. You're taking your Quran from a known liar and a thief. But another reciter, who is not a known liar and thief, who was a reciter from Asim, same teacher, he said the correct reading is not only surely the religion with Allah is Al-Hanafiya, he also added the line, not Judaism or Christianity or Zoroastrianism, which is extra funny because I don't think that Muhammad even knew that word in Arabic. Therefore, Allah didn't know that word. But that is another reason. It just shows how many little alterations could be made to the Quran, and Allah didn't care. Like, he didn't do anything about it. It isn't preserved. It is meddled with by powers over and over and over again. So.
Allah didn't care about a lot of things.
Especially not women.
Not women, not black folks, no.
I think you cares about
Oh
one thing.
man.
Muhammad.
Yes.
You're out twice, sister.
I know. You're bad zone.
Especially Muhammad's penis.
I know.
That was primary importance of all.
Oh gosh. Not the happiness.
So what's your You next, Susan Mary.
Oh, wait, I forgot to tear it. I forgot to tear it. Sorry.
Mary, hold
Sorry.
everything up.
Hold everything up because I didn't hear it. I'm so sorry. I should have poured it better. Shame on me.
My next one comes from Quran 7:158, where it talks about Muhammad being mentioned in the Bible and the Torah, which isn't a thing. Has never ever been a thing.
Ibn Ishaq says that his big old mole is described clearly in both of them.
He's never read it.
Mole.
It was, they corrupted all the copies in the 8th century, don't you know that? They removed all mentions of Muhammad's mole from all the Bibles, in all languages, in the 8th century.
So we got a question from Houston Mueller. He asks, is the true birthday July 10th, or is this just a convenient day for the party? So the Cairo Quran was July 10th, 2024, at least 1924, at least the
Yeah, I think that's
The
the official,
main
the
one.
royal publication date or something. Obviously, it took more than one day to put it together, but that's the
Took them a
official.
lot more than one day to put it together.
I think
That's the day that
that
it
is the
said we
official
did it.
publication day.
yeah, but
It's not the publication day. It's in 10 July 1924. It has been officialized as the Hafs Quran for the university.
Right.
Officialized as the proper term.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. The officially
And
decreed.
end of that year, they did editing and then published another Quran for the university for students to use. 1936, they did the second edition, and then last edition was 1985. Because the first edition is identified as 10th of July, I think that's the reason kind of we are talking about it.
Seems like we could have a birthday for the Quran every day for some version of the Quran.
yeah, seems like there's more than one, wouldn't you say, Hatun?
Yeah.
The second edition of the perfectly preserved eternal word of Allah.
Reason why I reject the Quran is because it preaches or teaches or depicts another Jesus. And another Jesus is really no Jesus at all. So this guy, Isa ibn Maryam, is not a historical figure, never existed. He only existed right here, and then unfortunately in the minds of Muslims. But the Jesus of history is different. The Quran doesn't have Jesus as the eternal Son of God. The Quran has a Jesus whose childhood resembles legends and myths found in Gnostic Gospels. It's one of my later answers or responses, by the way. This Jesus didn't die on a cross. Therefore, he didn't atone for sin. Therefore, he did not resurrect. That's another one of mine later on. Let me read for you now 2 Corinthians 11. Listen to this. Verses 3 and verses 4. But I fear that as the serpent deceived Eve by his craftiness. So if you follow the Jesus of the Quran, you are being deceived like Eve by craftiness of the serpent. Your minds will be corrupted. Your minds are corrupted if you believe this. From the simplicity and purity of devotion to Christ. So instead of being a disciple who gets the clarity of the gospel and what the sacrifice of Jesus meant on the cross, it's all clouded and corrupted and confused. Look at verse 4. This is how you get to that state. This is Paul's concern. For if one comes and preaches another Jesus, exactly what Muhammad did, whom we did not preach, and that's why they don't like Paul and the apostles, or you receive a different spirit which you did not receive, that's what Muslims do, unfortunately, or a different gospel which you did not accept, absolutely that's the case, you bear this beautifully, saying that marks you. That's the state you're in because you're believing in another Jesus, which is no Jesus at all. And that's why the Quran is false. 2 Corinthians 11:4.
Speaking of Alexander the Great,
Just lost that. Sorry.
Dual Carnate. I mentioned Dual Carnate before. that our good friend Julio I'm, Muslims used to understand that this is Alexander the Great because back in the day, people were familiar with the Alexander romance. So when you heard the story of Julio I'm, you're like, oh, I know where that, that's the same story. That's the same story. Whereas Muslims today, they understand that Julio I'm, if he was Alexander the Great was as pagan as anyone could possibly be. You cannot be more of a pagan than Alexander the Great was. And yet Julio I'm in the Quran is a devout Muslim. I won't even count that one though. D-Wood won't count that. We won't count Julio I'm as Alexander the Great being a problem. We did count it as being a problem that he found the place where the sun set. So that was earlier. We could continue and point out that later in Surah 18, he actually finds the place where the sun rises. There is no such place. But I won't count that. We'll let the Quran, I'm letting the Quran slide on all these like ridiculous blunders. I do want to point out one. Also in Surah 18, Alexander, let's call it Julio I'm. I don't care. Call it whoever you want. You can call it if you want to say, no, it's not Alexander. Fine, call it Julio I'm. Right? Julio I'm, by popular demand, builds a giant wall between two mountains. He builds this huge wall between two mountains. And these two, you can compare the teachings of Muhammad in the Hadith. But you have these two mountains. Alexander fills it in. He has people fill it in, and then he pours metal on it and so on, builds this giant wall. And this giant wall is, up until today, holding back the hordes of Gog and Magog. And according to the Hadith, that's actually billions of people. And it's going to be later on, towards the end of time, when the hordes finally break out. So, according to Muhammad and the Quran, there's a wall somewhere in the world between two giant mountains, and this wall is holding back billions of people who, at some point, they're gonna break out, and they're gonna. So, and the question: where is this? We have a pretty good understanding of the world right now. In the 7th century, you could get away with saying something like that. They don't know the world. Where are these billions of people trapped behind a wall?
Google Maps.
Yeah. And it's serious Muslim scholars actually try to wrestle with this. You remember Sheikh Yasser Khan?
Yes.
Well, it's because
Zombies.
He said it's zombies.
Thriller night.
Zombies because they can't speak. They can't speak. They don't have any understandable speech and stuff. So these things are they're behind this wall and go, brains.
Well, the issue is,
right? So,
the location.
according to Muhammad and the Quran, there's a wall with billions of people behind it, and they're eventually going to break out.
The location.
No, there isn't.
Well,
It's wrong.
The location was clear to all of the early scholars. They said where it was. They knew where it was. It was a particular pass that is located in space that you can visit right now that's supposed to have this wall, but oddly there is no wall there. They all agreed where it was. They weren't confused. And it was the same place as it was in the legend. So...
I just want to add real quick that this is actually a real serious issue within Islam. This is one of the things that bothers Muslims more than anything else.
Muslims who study it, which is why Muslims, they do not encourage Muslims to study this. That's a recipe for making an ex-Muslim. If your imam walks in and says, homework assignment everyone, figure out what this wall is and where it's at, who's hiding behind it, you just made your entire mosque ex-Muslim.
Mm-hmm. And if you heard Ali Dawa say, oh, you and your little brain, me and my little brain, we have no idea. It's in reference to this.
That's what he actually said too, little brain, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, me and my little brain, we can't figure it out. Allah knows best.
Well, then why did all of the early scholars know exactly where it was? Because it's in the myth. It's in the legend.
That's
They knew where it was.
Hatun has a correction.
Do you mind if I correct
You can correct me
It's
all
not
day long.
millions, it's zillions.
Oh,
and
zillions, okay.
It's a zombie apocalypse.
One of the reason Quran is false, because Bible makes it very clear what is the criteria for prophethood. Deuteronomy chapter 13, 2 Corinthians chapter 11, and Surah 3 verse 81, Muhammad confirms that. And yet Muhammad ends up in 7th century and introduced a God which is not the God of Bible. So he introduced something called Allah, who is alone, lonely and needy, versus previous scriptures. Bible identifies God as triune God, Father who loves his Son in the power of the Spirit. One being in 3 persons, that's how scripture identifies him. Sadly, Muhammad gets it wrong.
That's right.
That's right.
It's white.
That's right.
It's Muhammad's
Read,
version.
brother, read.
Muhammad's version. That's white.
I like, read, brother, read. It's like, uh-oh. Not
Hey,
Muhammad. Not Muhammad.
Hey, you should show up and dress as Prophet Muhammad. You're the Hebrew Israelites, and they go, read, but I can't read.
I can't read.
Just get that clip. That clip will be legend, instant legend status.
Or no, just be like, uh-oh, gotta go. So, another contradiction. Actually, Jai sent me a message too. It's funny. From Brother Jai, thank you. The obvious misgivings in the Quran about the Trinity. The Quran identifies the Trinity as Allah, Isa, and Maryam, which we know in Scripture. That's not what we have. And Allah, who knows everything, I guess, does not know. He doesn't get the doctrine like 600 years later of the Trinity right. So that's one contradiction. Another contradiction that I have is Allah and creation. You hear a lot of Muslims say Allah cannot enter his creation because he, even though we know he, in some of the hadiths, he travels down to the third heaven because he has hearing problems. He has to get closer to hear what those kids are saying and who he can bless. So Surah 27:9, where he's talking to Moses in the burning bush, and he's like, "Hey Moses, it's me." And Moses is like, "What?" And then true story, it happened the way they said it. Trust me, believe me, it's Allah's word. So these are the contradictions. So I'm going to take 2 for my 2.
I believe that comes from Tafsir, trust me, bro.
Yes, Tafsir, trust me, bro.
That's the Dawa guy's favorite tafsir.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, it's like, oh no, you don't understand the Arabic,
Yeah.
bro.
But it's written in Arabic so everybody understands it. But also no one can understand it because you can't understand Arabic. And it's written in Arabic so that it's clear and everyone understands it.
I was asking, well then what does it mean in Arabic? And they're like,
Allah knows best. Allah knows best.
So,
Can I put that on an exam? I'm sorry, go ahead.
while Allah knows best, who doesn't even know who are the believers, as well as who is Trinity, same Allah failed to make it clear that Surah Fatiha is the part of the Quran. Soon after the death of Muhammad, Muslims start fighting with one another if the Surah 1 was the part of the Quran or not. Ubay bin Ka'b, who Muhammad ordered people to take the Quran from, thought Surah Fatiha was part of the Quran, but Ibn Masud thought no, Surah Fatiha wasn't part of the Quran, and current Quran we are reading contains Surah 1. So I don't know which Quran is false. I know one of them is false, but I don't know which one is.
All of them.
Allah knows best.
Yeah, he doesn't know who are the
The
believers.
one perfectly preserved in Jannah.
I'll go with a contradiction. What do you call it? A contradiction?
Contradiction.
Contradiction. So Surah 2, according to Surah 2, verse 29 of the Quran, Allah created the earth first, then the heavens. According to Surah 79, verses 27 to 30, Allah created the heavens first, then the earth. Now, I don't care which one you want to go with. Pick one. Pick one that you agree with. The other one has to be false because it's a contradiction. That, my friends, is another candle.
This is another candle, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. I do not believe the Quran because the Quran is false because it makes up stories about Jesus' childhood, including when he's in the cradle. So if you read the accounts that we have that are within the lifetime of eyewitnesses, Matthew, who was an eyewitness, John, who was an eyewitness, Mark, who talked to Peter, who was an eyewitness, Luke, who talked to many eyewitnesses, almost certainly including Mary. When you look at those, not even counting the epistles and other literature that is within the first century, that is included in the Christian Bible, that is canonical, you look and you don't see this stuff invented about Jesus out of whole cloth. But the Quran's got Jesus speaking from the cradle. The Quran has got Jesus doing things in childhood that the Bible does not contain. Now, what does the Bible have about Jesus' childhood? It's the boy Jesus at the temple in Jerusalem. So the Quran directly contradicts Luke chapter 2, verses 39 through 52, They go into Jerusalem for the Passover. He's 12 years old. They can't find him. They come in to find him. And then they're astonished to find that he is astounding the teachers with his questions. And then what does it say in verse 49? Even this alone contradicts really the Quran's understanding of who Jesus is. Why is it that you were searching for me? Did you not know that I had to be in my Father's house? Or you could say about my Father's business, some translations will say. Then it says, Jesus was advancing in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and men. Now the point is, that is enough. What we have with the virgin conception of Mary and that description, what we have with the nativity scenes presented, what we have there with Jesus being presented at the temple, what we have there with the young family taking flight to Egypt, what we have there with the wise men, the magi from the east coming and essentially worshiping Jesus as king and understanding that he is Israel's promised Messiah. All of that, and then this temple, this brief little narrative, just to let you know that he is truly a son of the law. That's enough. We don't need to make up anything. We don't need to add anything. And we certainly don't need to look to Gnostic legends from which the stories that the Quran includes came from. So I do not believe in the Quran because it contains these legends about Jesus' childhood, and that's not who he was. It's historically false. The source is false. Therefore, I pass on this book, just like I pass it to Derek right now.
Sweet. The next one I have comes from Quran 35:18, which says that no bearer of burdens will bear the burdens of another, except later on in the Quran that abrogates that one. It says, hey, if you mislead someone, then you're going to bear their burdens. And then Sahih Muslim 27:67 comes along and says, you know what? Muslims, don't worry about it, because Christians and Jews will bear your burdens. Even if you have sins as heavy as a mountain, they will bear your burdens for you.
And I want to go back to our favorite Surah of the Cave here, because Muhammad told people that the name of the Surah of the Cave in the Torah. He said that the Surah of the Cave is in the Torah, and its name is the barrier between the hellfire and blah, blah, blah. So he's saying that what is in the Quran is revealed exactly the same in the Torah. And that is what he taught. He taught that the Quran brought nothing new, that it is true because it has exactly the same things that are in the Injil and the Torah and every other scripture. It's exactly the same, it's just in a different language. And so later on, the Muslims went to a Jewish convert who was a he was a grifter, and asked him, so what happened? Is the sun setting in a hot spring or in a muddy pool? And he said, well, in the Torah it says, and they believed him because Muhammad told them that this particular thing, the entire surah, according to Muhammad, is in the Torah. Is, not was lost, is. And they went to him and he said, yeah, it's there. And they believed him because that's what Muhammad taught.
Alright, so we've managed to get this whole time without talking about the character, the moral character of Muhammad.
That's the example.
Huh?
That's the example.
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
Now, if I were to cite some specific things Muhammad did, I would be accused of deriving my religion from the U.S. Constitution. So instead, what I'm going to say is that Jesus says, you'll know them by their fruits. In the Sirah, this isn't me, right? This isn't me talking. In the Sirah, Muhammad is described as an ideal member of society before he becomes a prophet. Said to be honest, has a great reputation, very likable guy, everyone gets along with him, very faithful to his one and only wife, and then as he gets revelation, all those things start to change. Little by little, the things that the Islamic biographies say are the perfect character traits that Muhammad possessed are changed by his revelations. Seems that there was something about those revelations and their source that changed Muhammad.
True.
So I'm going to take some super chats real quick since we've gotten some. Thank you guys so much for being a part of this live stream. I hope you are learning a lot. First of all, we see from Robert, love you all, and I wish I could be there. Unfortunately, I got life in the way. Sorry, unfortunately, life got in the way. God bless you all. Jack Ray says, are those Quran cakes on plates on the right? I just got here. Yes, yes they are. However, one comment on that real quick.
You getting ice cream too? Oh no.
So I was trying to make these lovely Qurans.
That's perfect.
And so the first two came out okay with great difficulty. I'm not quite done yet. I gotta add some things since these are the truly holy editions of the Quran.
And that's edible?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, definitely. But sadly,
That's what Muhammad's cook said though too.
guys, I think they made them
Muhammad's
too
cook said.
accurate when they printed out my designs for me because they are just like falling
Falling
apart
apart?
every time I touch them, which is like very similar to the Quran. Every time we touch on it, it just completely falls apart. So I don't think we're going to be able to enjoy as many of those cakes as we would like to.
So those Qurans were destroyed, and the culprits, the other culprits are on this side of the table.
The problem is they're not in Arabic. It's a
Oh,
Quran in English.
okay.
If it's a Quran
Yeah, it doesn't
in
matter.
Arabic, it would have been indestructible.
Hey Hatun, how many Arabic Qurans have you gathered now?
I have 37 different Arabic Qurans. Comparing the Hafs Quran, within Hafs Quran there are 7 different Hafs Qurans.
That's interesting. Sounds like it's
And
still
3
falls
Warsh
apart.
Quran.
Let's get it to 100.
But we do have some other Quran cakes that you guys will have specially revealed later. And again, like it's just not working. The Quran just does not work as much
You
as I
see?
try.
You see? It's the power
Did
of
you say
Allah.
Bismillah?
No, I didn't. Maybe that's the problem. But 10 out of 10 do not recommend these halal markers.
I'll have to freeze the cake.
So since I've got some things that we've been talking about on here, I was gonna try to draw some of our little goats on one of these since the markers aren't really working out right and the the Qurans aren't really working out right. But some other ways, I'll touch on one other way that the Quran has been abrogated, which clearly can't happen if no one can change or remove anything from the eternal Quran. Do you guys know how the Quran originally came into compilation? It's not until it started getting destroyed because in battle, the Quran, the Battle of Yamama,
Your mama jokes?
many were lost who had the Quran memorized, and they were concerned that there would be more great losses, and so they decided maybe we should write this down and not have this perfect preservation in memory that we all know. Well, you know, the Quran is perfectly preserved because everybody has the whole Quran memorized, right? Not right. Sorry, guys. So that's a reason, and another way that the Quran has been
Hold up,
abrogated.
pause that right
Yeah.
there before the point is lost.
Yes, go
We've
ahead.
been-
Point.
No, you're thinking of something totally different. We're thinking of two totally different
Alright,
points
well,
right now.
you go for it.
You're thinking
Well,
of you're thinking of something important. I'm thinking of something stupid. But in a way
Both of us
that
are thinking.
yeah, what I'm
Let's
thi-
find the common ground.
what I'm talking about is that for years we've laughed because this battle where a bunch of the Quran was lost is called the Battle of Yamama, right? And I've always said that I deliberately mispronounce it as Yamama.
No.
Just because whenever I'm saying it and stuff, and in the Battle of Yamama, and everyone goes, oh, did you say Yamama, right? How have we not had, like, put the sources up on the screen about the significance of the Battle of Yamama, and then say, and now we're doing a reenactment, and it's a bunch of armies doing Yamama jokes back and forth. Like how did we not do that at some point?
Your
right?
mama is so fat.
Well, so what did you have?
Your mama is so ugly, I will not unadopt my son to marry her.
She's uglier than the goat that ate the Quran. Oh!
Your mama's-
Hey, they could be doing Yamama jokes, but they're all about the guys they're fighting are making all their jokes about the Quran.
Your mama's so ugly, she looks 7 years old.
Your mama, she got married at the age of 13. She's like,
Yeah.
Let's say
Oh,
however
I got
you
a bad one.
pronounce it. Yamama, Umama, whatever that is. You express that many people died, therefore they concerned that they are going to lose the Quran, compiled it.
Yeah.
I think it's important when we say many, because for them 70 people was many. 70 people, only 70 people who memorized the Quran, its fullness died. And then Muslim world, within 2 years after the death of Muhammad, start shaking. We lost 70 men, now we are losing the Quran. So it's not like 1,000 people at all.
Yeah.
70 people, only 70 people. Like all Muhammad's in lifetime, his one and only job, besides like climbing top of kids stuff, that one and only job was pass the Quran around. That was the one and only job. What he did?
Didn't do it.
He couldn't do it.
But what?
That-
I mean,
It's
it's very
supposed to
hard
be,
to
if you
memorize
memorize the
bad poetry.
Quran and you were so committed, you were supposed to defeat everybody in battle, like hundreds and thousands and.
Yeah, that's why they put their best memorizers
Yeah,
in
that's
front.
what I mean. That's what it was
To make you
supposed to be, according to Allah. If you memorized the Quran well enough and you were a good Muslim, when you went to battle, oh, everybody's dying. And Allah lied to Muhammad and said, yeah, you can go beat them in battle, and kind of messed around and found out. So I'm just saying, it's
But
contradictions.
I'm not sure if it is fair to blame Muslims simply they are stupid to believe in Muhammad. Being stupid is not crime, you know.
No, they believe Allah. That's the problem. Oh, Shin, the holy Shin.
So, and just so you guys know what source I'm referring to as far as the Battle of Imama, I'm referring to Sahih al-Bukhari, book 6, volume 61, Hadith 509. I believe that would be the English.
509.
I've since converted over most of my sources to the standard numbers, but that's an older one. But that's casualties were heavy among the Quran, i.e. those who knew the Quran by heart on the day of the Battle of Yamama. And I'm afraid that more heavy casualties may take place among the Quran on other battlefields whereby a large part of the Quran may be lost. So that's one of the ways that the Quran was abrogated in addition to others that have been mentioned. However, one that I don't think has been mentioned yet is Allah himself apparently caused it to be forgotten. Seems pretty sketchy to me, this perfectly preserved Quran being forgotten. And so we see this, that it was even forgotten by Muhammad. So it wasn't just that these were, imperfect human beings. Muhammad was not perfect either. Which we can get back to that, but I don't have 3 in a row to touch on that. So we see in Quran 87, 6-7, we will make you recite, O Muhammad, and you will not forget except what Allah should will. And
Don't you
indeed,
love Allah? Sorry, I don't want to kind of break your thoughts, but don't you love Allah? Like he's just there to rescue Muhammad every time when he's desperately need help. People come to Muhammad, Allah just steps in like he's cuddling blanket. I am here, Muhammad. What is it you need? Oh, you need to blame someone? Let me take the responsibility. He did the same thing like when people were coming to Muhammad's house. Oh, Muhammad is shy, but Allah is not shy.
I think that,
I think he's a good friend.
Yeah.
I think that
He's
counts
a
as a bonus
wingman.
one.
I was the best wingman ever.
He's a ride or die chick.
Okay. Yeah, that would be-
He's a road dog. He's down.
I know.
but I think that one is one that we're.
Is there any-
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm shy.
I was just gonna let her rip it out because she has
It
both.
has to be the next one. It has to be the next one. There's a reason. There's a reason.
But yeah, so there's tons of sources on the Quran being forgotten. So like I said, Quran 87, 6-7, verse 7 would be the finishing of that would be indeed he knows what is declared and what is hidden. Quran 2:106, Sahih al-Bukhari 5037, Sahih Muslim 788b, Sahih al-Bukhari 5032. So apparently there was a whole lot of forgetting of the Quran. Weird.
Hey, you cited the Bukhari version of the Battle of Yamama.
Yeah.
The Ibn Abi Dawood version, Kitab al-Masahif, where he's actually writing, he writes an entire book about problems with the preservation of the Quran. His version says, many of the passages of the Quran that were sent down were known by those who died on the day of Yamama. Burn. But they were not known by those who survived them, nor were they written down, nor had Abu Bakr, Umar, or Uthman by that time collected the Quran, nor were they found with even one person after them. They're saying these were lost. The original idea of the Quran was that it was supposed to be preserved in memory. When you read in the Muslim source about them writing things down on a piece of bone or something like that, or flat rocks, or they're not making a book. No one's taking a bunch of rocks and stacking them up and making a book. The point of writing them down on a stone was to take back to your tent and help you memorize it, because memory was what was going to preserve this.
But
And then the people who had passages memorized start dying in battle, and then they go, I think we need to write this down.
Paper might be a better method.
It is.
Even
That's the Chinese proverb. The weakest ink will outlast the strongest memory.
Very
So
true.
even though they wrote it down, even though they thought recitation was our main way to recite this, within 20 years, when they are fighting in Azerbaijan, Muslims are calling one another kafir simply because the way they are reciting it. So always it just failed.
Yeah. And you saw it during the lifetime of Muhammad.
Yeah.
They're quoting the Quran differently. Hey, I'm gonna have to do something to this guy. No. Allah revealed it in all these different ways. What a joke. It's like,
He's a peacemaker.
yeah, it would be, if you wrote this as a joke, it would be like too stupid to even be a joke, and it's like what you find about the history of the Quran.
perfectly preserved. I'm still arguing for perfect preservation.
So you tried to hear a bonus reason from Hatun, but that has been abrogated. That has not been spoken yet because we are at reason number 50. We are halfway through. If it was any other number, I would have let it stand, but I needed to do something special with the halfway mark. In the Quran, we see that the testimony of a woman is worth half that of a man.
Aww.
Muslims will tell us, apologists will tell us, that, this is because of the social status of women. They weren't out in public. They weren't involved with contracts. They didn't have the right experience to be witnesses in court. Nice story. Problem is, Muhammad's the best interpreter of the Quran, and he tells us that this shows that women have half the intelligence of men. A group of women come to Muhammad, and he says that I see that most of the inhabitants of hellfire are you, women. And they say, why is that, Muhammad? Al touched on one of them earlier. They're deficient in religion because they have periods and they bleed, and they can't do Islamic rituals while they're bleeding. But also because they're deficient in intelligence. Does not the Quran say, Muhammad says, that the testimony of a woman is worth half that of a man? This proves that you are intellectually inferior.
And it means you should only communicate using a whiteboard.
And I would like to build off of the story of the lost bits of the Quran war. It's massive amounts of the Quran are lost, according to the Islamic testimony, supposedly at that battle. And the reason that they put things that people who had memorized things that hadn't been written down in the front is because Allah would promise that He'd never allow anything to get lost. And they're like, well, if this guy gets lost, parts of the Quran will get lost. If this guy gets killed, parts of the Quran will get lost. And therefore, Allah cannot let him die. But then a lot of them died. So, that is an excuse for having certain things not in the Quran, but there are two surahs that many people have. People say, oh, but Ibn Thabit, he was so dedicated that he went and he found every single ayah that survived, even if it was only found among two people, because you had to have at least two people have it. But there were two surahs that a bunch of people were reciting, and they recited them as surahs. They said that these are surahs. And yet, Ibn Thabit chose not to include them, and so they're just not there. And people are like, why aren't they there? And Ibn Thabit just decided not to do it. Now, who was Ibn Thabit? He was a young kid. He didn't hear much. He was not a particularly good reciter of the Quran. And people who were much better reciters were among those who recited these as actual surahs and yet they're not there because apparently Ibn Thabit had the ability to abrogate Quran with the blessing of Uthman and Uthman's sons-in-law, who were put in charge of compiling this and deciding what was going to be abrogated and what was not, what makes the cut. A man gets to decide that. Allah had no say. So forget Allah. No one cares about him to make this silly book.
I want to build off of what Elle was pointing out, that they wrote down the Quran because they figured, oh shoot, too many people are dying with this memorization thing. It's not reliable. Yet Muslims today still want to tell us that their chain of narration is the most reliable thing ever in history. Although even by the chain of narration, by its own testimony, it is unreliable. Because it's the one who tells us they wrote down the Quran because they weren't then able to be memorized and passed down without too many people dying.
Extra large candle.
Oh, thorough.
I reject the Quran because it copies and promotes myths. M-Y-T-H-X. Let me define a myth briefly. It's material that is untrue, material that is legendary, and this is quoting Towner's commentary on Timothy. Here's what he says. It could also be material that is, quote, pernicious in its purpose to justify immoral or improper behavior on the basis of a divine or traditional pattern. It's exactly what the Quran does for Muhammad. Let me show you what the Bible says about myths, though, and why you should not trust them. And in case you wonder what myths and legends I'm talking about, I've already mentioned the Gnostic sources found in the Quran. David mentioned elements that come out of fake biographies of Alexander the Great. Who maybe we call him Alexander the Greek. Do we think he was great? He was kind of gay.
He was
was.
excellent
Very
warriors.
Very gay, you know?
He was
He was
gay.
great at being fabulous.
He was great at fighting, dude.
He was also great at being fabulous.
He was
Very
fabulous.
good.
So I'll just call him
You better
Alexander the
stop.
Greek, maybe even Alexander the Freak, you know? So here we are. Let me show you what the Bible says about myths. 2 Peter 1:16. Peter specifically says, we were eyewitnesses. Listen to this quote. We did not follow cleverly devised myths. The Quran is filled with cleverly devised myths. 1 Timothy 1:4 says that Paul told Timothy to, quote, command certain ones not to pay attention to myths. Muhammad the Ear was known for paying attention to myths. Exactly. He's the guy with the cup on the door. 1 Timothy 4:7 says this is what Paul wrote. This is the Legacy Standard Bible. It says that Christians should refuse godless myths, fit only for old women. Some versions say old wives' tales. Refuse godless myths. If you're Muslim, you're not refusing godless myths. Muhammad didn't refuse godless myths. He should have. He didn't. 2 Timothy 4:4, listen to this. This is a prediction of Muhammad. The time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine. They will accumulate for themselves teachers in accordance to their own desire. That's what Muhammad did for himself. And will turn away from the truth and will turn aside to myths. You got it. That's the key word. Last one. Look at Titus 1:14. In this, Paul tells Pastor Titus to do this there in Crete, where he's left in charge. He says, Titus, you need to reprove Gabriel got my tongue. Reprove them severely.
Humiliated.
Titus 1:14 says, reprove them severely, so that they may be sound in the faith, not paying attention to Jewish myths and commandments of men who turn away from the truth. So it's saying there, specifically, to not pay attention to myths and don't pay attention to the commandments of men who turn away from the truth. Every time you see someone quoting Muhammad as if he's got an edict that they should obey, they're literally violating Titus 1:14. So the point is, we do not follow myths, therefore we do not follow the Quran.
Did you get your Quran?
Right.
Let the record show that vocab called
Let the
the
letter
Quran
reflect.
clever.
You see?
He copied some.
Even the kuffar admit that the Quran is clever.
Well, I mean,
This will be one
compared
of
to some
Zakir
of
Knight's
his
new
relatives-
points.
Compared to some of
But
Muhammad's
make a good
relatives, he
point.
was,
Quran
because
is
he
very
was
clever.
different.
I'll give a quick, easy one. Surah 86, verses 6 to 7. What is Muhammad the all-time expert on, vocab? Semen. What?
I was going to say that was on the tip of my tongue.
Pause.
But
That would have
then,
been bad. That was
Flag on
I'm
the
better
flag.
about it,
Yeah.
you know?
So Muhammad is the world class, the world champion, all-time expert on all things involving semen. Just read the hadith. And yet, in the Quran, Surah 86, 6 to 7, he gets a revelation from the great God Allah about where semen is formed. Because his followers, hey, you're the expert here, tell us where semen is formed. And he explains it right there in the Quran. Says that semen is a fluid proceeding from between the backbone and the ribs. And that's just sort of the most obvious reading of it. There have been Muslim commentators who say that this is referring to the two different fluids. One refers to the fluid of the semen of the woman, and the other refers to the semen of the man. That doesn't help. That would be a separate problem. If you thought that was a solution, that would be a separate problem. But just going with the simple version, semen is formed between the backbone and the ribs, according to the Quran. Guess what? No, it's not. Take a biology class.
Yeah.
Right. One of the reasons Quran is false because current Quran in Surah 2 verse 2 states, this is the book about which there is no doubt, a guidance for those. And when you look at the early writings regarding what Muslims taught about Surah 2 verse 1, Muslim says, this is the kebab, there is no oil in it. So, since Muslims wasn't sure if it is talking about book or kebab, I think I shouldn't be following at all
It's
anyway.
like Steven Seagal.
All right.
He is here.
Great.
All right.
All right. Let's just take a brief intermission to say hello to our apostate prophet.
Hey, now the challenge is AP now has to give, to catch up, 6 or 7 errors in the Quran that no one has covered.
That's right. That's right. So I got a bunch of shirts, baby shirts.
We've been going back and sit down. Have a seat, man.
What is this?
You're sitting down right there.
Oh,
And
the goats.
We're up to, what are we
Like
up to
Ricky
now?
Bobby
Around
with
close to
his
60 or something?
It'll be 56.
We've been going one
We're
person
55,
after another,
56.
talking about reasons the Quran is false.
And now you're messing up the count because it was beautiful, even
Yes,
eights,
okay.
but that's fine.
It's interesting too, because we could see who's better, AP or a lot, knowing things that they have no way of knowing.
Yeah, so if you try to repeat a reason, we'll know that
Well,
You have to give a
not
reason
wrong.
the Quran is false that has not been shared in the past 56 reasons we've given.
And all you think
And
about that.
if you do, you're greater than Allah. If not, then you're kind of weak.
Okay, so before it gets to you, I'll give my 2. So, Muhammad committed shirk. We all know the 3 daughters of Allah, right? But that's the unforgivable sin. But in Surah 48, he says he's going to forgive Muhammad for his sins past, present, and future. So, unforgivable sin, what are you doing, Allah?
You think the rules apply to the guy who's receiving the revelation?
No, they don't. But but wait, there's more. Muhammad says in Surah, I have it 33. Oh man, I changed the page. my bad, Surah 33, 12, as well as Surah 9, 103, he is associating himself with Allah. So it says Allah and Muhammad, that you got to obey him. It says this really quick. And it was not for a believing man or a believing woman, if Allah and his messenger judged an affair, that they will have a choice in their affairs. And whoever disobeys Allah and his messenger, so indeed they err in a manifest error.
And that's it's partners, right? yeah.
Is that partners? Maybe it's partners. Sounds like partners to me. And then lastly, 9:103, take from their alms that it will purify them and sanctify them by it, and pray over them, for surely your prayers are a relief to them, and Allah is here knowing. He's talking about Muhammad. He's collecting money. He's shaking down people for Muhammad, for Allah, of course. Like this is, he's collecting money on behalf. He's the shakedown guy. So it's a lot of shirk going on here with Muhammad. And I know it doesn't apply to Muhammad, but there's a lot of shirk throughout the Quran with other people, and Allah seems to overlook it.
He makes you an offer you can't refuse.
Yeah.
Right?
And he's going to bust your kneecaps or your shin.
I think so, right?
It's your turn.
What?
I was actually AP's gonna go first.
No,
He is,
Let's
but
take his turn when he gets to him.
It gives them extra time to think.
it's rolling.
One of the other reasons that Quran is false, it is supposed to be the word of Allah revealed to Muslims in Arabic. Sadly, verses in itself expresses those are the words of Satan. For example, Surah 255 Ayat al-Kursi is coming to Muslims, which Muslims need to recite before they go to bed as the verse of Satan. Same for Surah 53 verse 19 to 21 as well. So Quran itself expresses to me that this is the word of Satan. Why should I follow?
Did you take your page? What?
What?
We're not gonna have enough candles.
We need 100 candles by the end of this.
We'll probably have lost a few. Just to go with this.
16 candles.
I will do another easy one. Another easy one.
David always doing the easy.
What? No one's covered Zainab yet?
No.
What in the name of common sense? That would have been like my top three.
I was actually
You said, like,
expecting
top
your
three.
preservation.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. According to the Quran, Allah needed Muhammad to take the wife of his own adopted son. He explains why Muhammad needed to do this in Surah 3, verse 37. And there he explains that the reason Muhammad had to marry the wife of his own adopted son after causing the divorce by lusting after her, the reason he had to do that was so that other Muslim men would understand that it's okay to marry the wives of their own adopted sons after they caused the divorce. As if this is a big problem that human beings have struggled with. I've never met one person in my life that struggled with this problem. But according to Allah, it's so important that he needs Muhammad to take the wife of his own adopted son. Now you can say, well, that doesn't prove the Quran is wrong, just proves it's really, really sick and disgusting. No. The problem's deeper than that. Because Surah 33, verses 4 to 5, abolish adoption in Islam. There is no adoption. So do the math here. Allah says, Muhammad, the reason I need you to go bang your adopted son's wife is so that other people understand that's perfectly acceptable thing to do. And yet, it's not a situation that would ever arise again. So why was Allah having Muhammad do it when it's a situation that would never arise? That's a problem. And a candle. What? That's I'm not counting this one. I'm not counting this one.
I'm telling you guys.
Just put them
The Quran is
See?
holy.
We'll understand. Just put
Too
'em
many
up.
holes in the narrative.
No, it's interesting because that's like a perfect description of the Quran itself. I mean, it's just perfect. Like, just melts in your hand. Melts and falls apart in your hand.
My favorite verses are where Allah goes, know you.
My reason why I don't believe the Quran is because Muhammad cannot be the prophet he's supposed to be, and so therefore we do the opposite of what this verse says because he doesn't fulfill it, which is Deuteronomy 18:18. So listen to this, what this says, Deuteronomy 18:18. I will raise up a prophet from among their brothers like you.
Ishmaelites.
Exactly. So we know what people will say, but we know what this means. This is saying that he would need to be a Hebrew. And it's even more than that, because ultimately when we look at this, we're talking about somebody who is the Lion of the tribe of Judah, Jesus of Nazareth. This is not Muhammad. He doesn't meet the qualifications. And listen to this. I will put my words in his mouth. Notice how this is direct. Even with the Quran, you got this intermediary, this angel. And he shall speak to them all that I command him. And it will be that whoever will not listen to my words, which he shall speak in my name. Like, think about the name that's revealed here in the Torah. It's Yahweh, the Tetragrammaton. Is that a name Muhammad used? Is that a name Muhammad was aware of? It appears not. Now, ultimately, you could say, well, it's not just the literal name, although I think there's something important to that. It's the character of the God being described. Certainly, the character of Allah is, to put it kindly, inferior to the character of Yahweh. And then Yahweh says in verse 19, I myself will require it of him. Deuteronomy 18:20 shows why you shouldn't trust the Quran, because it says, but the prophet who speaks a word presumptuously in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or which he speaks in the name of other gods, Muhammad did both of those things, that prophet shall die.
Meaning be killed.
Now you may say in your heart, how will we know the word which Yahweh has not spoken? When a prophet speaks in the name of Yahweh, the thing does not come about or come true. That is a thing which Yahweh has not spoken. The prophet has spoken it presumptuously. You shall not be afraid of him. And I would add, don't be afraid of his followers either. AP's inaugural journey, his maiden voyage into Paranagami.
AP has been called out in the chat, sadly.
No.
So I don't know if you guys saw
Exposed?
that, but Far4 commented, AP is on his phone to distract him from the urge to talk about Hitler.
That's true.
And on that note, just a
Hold
couple
on.
more,
Actually, he's watching a Hitler video, so
just a couple more super chats to help distract AP from this horrible urge. We have a liar, Akbar. LOL. Without lies, Islam dies. That's from Normal is Overrated. The scriptural plug, Albert, says, may God continue to bless all of your ministries. Thank you guys very much. Cam says, where did you get that screaming goat? It's awesome. Love you guys. Keep it up. Eric of Your Brother in Christ actually made that. We were talking about this earlier, but yeah, David said on a live stream or something like, hey, for Christmas, get me a goat. And so he had this brilliant idea to make a Islamically accurate goat with Quran pages in its mouth, abrogating the Quran on behalf of Allah, since Allah needed many minions in order to do that properly. And so he decided to make a whole bunch for us when he got banned from TikTok. And they will be available by donation at the conference. So if you guys would like one, you can get one too.
Hey, no, it's actually funny because I was like, because there are like 1 million goats. Like I visited you guys, there's like 1 million goats everywhere. And I'm like, I would like to eat one of those things. And so I said, give me, what do you want for Christmas? Send me a goat. I was gonna eat one. And then, yeah, he sent me a...
He sent you an eating goat. That's even better, isn't it?
Then it caught on.
So we also see White Lily sent a super sticker. Thank you so much. SNR said, God bless you, brothers and sisters. Gabe said, hi guys, can't wait for the conference tomorrow. We look forward to seeing you.
Hey,
Yeah.
Is this the most Turks who've ever been in a church in America before?
No, I'm sure that's not true.
Still less racist than Muhammad.
I heard if 3 Turks go into a church, they all burst into flames.
David, racism causes cancer.
Oh yeah.
True story. I worked in a nuclear reactor all my life. I'm diagnosed with cancer. It's racist.
We've got some more super chats, but for now, I will not let AP be off the hook any longer.
Yeah, before we go to AP, can we get a round of goats for the super chatters?
Thank you guys.
Yeah, AP said, I was like, has anyone talked about Ezra?
You said at the beginning.
I said that was my first point.
It's my favorite. You're not supposed to talk about it. You're supposed to.
Well, you should have showed up on time, huh?
So,
That's right.
this thing wrong to put inside a bag and go on the subway, like a heavy duffel bag, and just have it go like.
Alright, is it my turn?
Yes,
sir. We're all waiting
We're all
for you.
staring at you.
So, my reason why the Quran. That's the topic, right? The Quran.
Quran's a fiction.
Wasn't false.
Yeah, why the Quran is false is that I don't like it. And if I don't like it, that means it's false. Of course, that's what you will hear from Muslim apologists, like,
No, they like the
I don't even want to mention
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
They will say that our reasoning, that people who leave Islam leave because they just don't want to, because they just don't like it and all that nonsense. One of the major reasons why I think the Quran is false, or why it's actually demonstrably false, is something about stars, which appears in chapter 67, verse 5, but also in other parts of the Quran. And you can also find it again repeated in the Hadiths, where the Quran says that Allah adorned the lowest sky, or literally the nearest sky, or the sky of the earth, because the sky was just this thing up there. He adorned it with little stars, with little lights, and some of those lights, they are thrown at rebellious devils. Yes, that's what stars are there for. They are thrown at rebellious devils. And you can also find further explanation to that in the Hadith, where Muhammad explains it lengthily. When people around him ask what's going on up there, and he's like, oh yeah, just leave it to me. Leave it to me. Leave it to me. Leave it to Allah and His Messenger to explain to you what's going on. So, when these soothsayers down here try to predict the future, the jinns that are among us go up there and try to attain secret knowledge from Allah and His high council with the angels. So they go up there, they sneak up there, and they listen to a few things, and they hear one or two things. But then, before they can gather too much, the angels quickly notice them and start throwing stars at them.
Well, that's a folk etymology of a term that was borrowed from Ethiopic that poet and Taif had been using. So Muhammad didn't know that the word like stoned essentially was just used as a curse in Ethiopic. And so whenever he got asked, he had to make up a story. It's the same thing with Rahman. He had to make up a story as to what it meant because he's supposed to know everything. He doesn't.
I thought it was just a George Lucas story. Come on.
Yeah,
Star Wars.
Thank you. Thank you for your input. Whenever you are in the room, I feel very, very, I feel much less intelligent.
You should feel twice as intelligent as you felt before.
Fill you up. I'm only a half brain, so clearly you're twice as smart as me minimum.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Supposedly, yeah. But yeah, so the angels, they throw those stars at the devils, at the jinns, and then those jinns are like, no, please, leave me alone, and they try to get away. Some of them are hit by the stars, others are not. Of course, complete nonsense. Stars are these. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, what happens when they get hit by the stars, though? Do they fall to the earth?
That's a good question.
Maybe they turn invincible like Mario when he gets hit by a star.
Hey, we should not make a video.
Yeah, we should make
That's like
That's a
Mario.
really good
I got the hat. I got the.
No, you just play a little video game.
Ma, it's the Mario.
Hurrah! Throw starts in 2 minutes.
That's a brilliant idea.
And dress up like Mario, like you're creeping through the heavens, like do it.
Anyway, there are many layers to this, but the Quran is very ignorant about
He goes in
the
the wrong direction.
natural world around us, and
Shocking.
this is one of the many reasons. Although the Quran gets, of course, everything else completely right, this is just one thing that the Quran gets totally wrong.
Yeah.
So, because of that, do I rip it out?
Yes.
Yes.
Rip
And
it
then
out,
just
make
fold
it
it
into
up
a
and we'll stick it in this cake.
Because of that.
One way or another.
So,
One way or another.
an update on these cakes, since you guys have seen that they are about as reliable and sturdy as the Quran, and they just fall apart all the time. You know, I kept trying to make them perfect, but I realized the only way that I could ever make these tons of different types of Qurans, everyone is different, just like in reality, the only way that I can make any of them passable is to remove everything Quranic about it. So now we just have white cake.
Well, Muhammad, just like Muhammad, he was white.
That cake is not white enough.
Yeah, I think this is
His
Just
ribs,
put some.
Too dark.
Just put the goats on those
his
pieces.
armpits, his thighs. Just all white.
that's so disturbing.
No, you can't think.
That's what you need that music.
He's thinking about his thighs and he can't think.
No, I know where I'm going.
Oh my! Oh my!
Oh wow, yeah.
Your thighs on this,
Just
okay.
because Muhammad swung that way doesn't mean you need to right now.
Muhammad's
No,
so
he
white.
did not. It was
He
an
makes that
angel.
frosting look like chocolate.
Yeah.
So the next one I have is the fact that in Islam, Jesus is a failure no matter how you look at it. Either he was a failure because he made everyone believe that he was God, or he's a failure as a Muslim because he failed to convert even a single individual or keep his message that he's given by Allah in order to keep it straight for more than a couple of years, at best. So mine would be that Muslims actually hate Jesus.
No, you got it completely wrong. Actually, so according to Islam, Jesus was there and all he was doing was telling the Jews, believe in Allah, believe in Allah, believe in one God. Come on, believe in one God, guys. And they were like, no! No!
What?
So they,
What?
so they wanted to kill him, yeah?
And then Allah was like, and beamed him up.
But I thought every Jew ever rejected Jesus because of their true monotheism. That's kind of weird.
Well, the problem is that Jews, of course, worship Ezra and say that he's the son of God. So, you know.
That's what it is.
And trust those Jews.
They were like,
Always
no,
worship Ezra.
Jesus is not the son of God, Ezra is the son of God.
And you can find that nowhere.
That's so
In the
confusing.
book
In the Quran.
In the book of Revelations.
And-
Like,
Alright, so
Never relations.
I want to go back to Zainab and Muhammad marrying her
So did
because
Muhammad.
oh!
it is funnier than you think because Muhammad had only recently, within like the past couple of years, had declared that he could only have 4 wives because he was imitating something in the Talmud. And he forced his followers to divorce their extra wives. So if he had married Zainab, before then, there would have been no problem. He could have had an infinite number of wives and he could have decided that anybody could have however many wives. But he taught that he also was under that 4-wife constraint at that time, and that's why Sauda gave up her night to Aisha to tempt Muhammad into keeping her on when he took on Zainab. It's also true that he could have had sex with his son's daughter, except that he was trying to impress the Jews and had just revealed that you can't do that. Or with his son's, not daughter, his son's wife. And he had just revealed that, oh no, you can't have sex with your father's wife or your son's wife and things like that. So he created the very things that he went against were teachings that he had just given. And then he's like, oh, well, Allah didn't mean that. It's okay if it's your adopted son's wife. Wait, I get rid of adoption entirely. So yeah, that is a massive problem that he set the rules that he then broke. And that is why so very many women were upset about this, not just his wives.
Isn't that one of the claims for Islam? They say, oh, you don't love your prophets because you have Lut sleeping with his daughters. And when I posed that question, I'm like, so if a guy sleeps with his daughters, he can't possibly love or be a prophet? And they tell me yes. And I said, so if I marry into your family, am I considered your father's daughter? They say yes. I bring out the hadith, and I was told I was an Islamophobe.
That's nice.
I feel like we're hurt.
All right.
I'm gonna leave. I'll be back tomorrow. Yeah.
You're seriously leaving?
You're
Yeah.
betting us
Would you like a
on it?
piece of cake?
I just drove an hour.
AP just spent all day driving, so he's going to get some sleep because we have a lot of stuff to do over the next several days. So,
Well, thank you for giving one reason.
yeah, he's very powerful.
It was the best.
Yeah, it shook our confidence in the Quran.
And he did show that he knows as much as the law, because once he realized he couldn't do the Uzair one again, then he gave a unique one. So his second try was unique, and to get it right after only 2 tries is much better than Allah normally does.
Yeah, and I gave a unique one which nobody mentioned before,
Correct.
because I looked at David and he told me that this is one only.
It's good to have good sources.
Well,
Sadly, Muhammad couldn't even seem to find those.
It's what Muhammad, right?
Oh, hey,
See ya.
hey guys, is Truth Seeker in the chat? Is Truth Seeker in the chat a Muslim or like a
Oh no, he's a real Muslim.
That's a real Muslim?
That is a real
Oh,
Muslim.
let me respond very quickly. This little side note. I just glanced to see what was going on in the
Oh
chat.
yeah, he just
And
is
Truth Seeker said, they cannot find a single verse in the complete Bible where Jesus himself said that I am your Lord. We can't find a single verse. Look, you hear the laughter? You hear the laughter? Why? Because everyone just thinks of something like this. This is John chapter 13, Gospel of John chapter 13, verse 13. Jesus says, you call me teacher and Lord, and rightly so, for that is what I am. You're sitting here trying to correct Christians and you're completely ignorant. This could be a reason. This could be a reason. It makes people like that think, hey, we're the authorities on what Jesus said and what's in the Bible, and we've never read it and we're completely ignorant. Why does Islam do this? But I won't even count that reason. Truth seeker.
He blind.
Truth. I'm the truth seeker. Yeah, gee, they can't find one verse. Even though it would take us like 1 second. My goodness.
Where does
What is-
Jesus
what
say
is
I'm
this
God
religion
worship
doing?
me?
All right, so we're about 2/3 of the way through it now, and shockingly, no one has mentioned one of the proofs the Quran offers of itself. In fact, the Quran offers 3 tests. We've only actually discussed one of them, contradictions. I want to discuss Surah like it, challenge. So, in numerous places in the Quran, people are coming to Muhammad and saying that this is crap. It sounds like the tales of the ancients, sounds like I could write better poetry. And Allah comes up with the genius test that if you can create a surah like it, then you'll know that it's fake. But if you can't, you'll try, and you'll fail, and then you'll know. But for part 1 of my discussion of this little test here, I just want to point out that that's the version we usually hear from Muslims, but the Quran actually has 3 different versions of this test. There's the Surah Like It challenge, where one surah, I suspect that challenge was met at some point. Even Muhammad couldn't deny that what someone had said sounded a lot like the Quran. Not that shocking, considering that there are surahs in the Quran that are literally just the speech of jinn, which means, by definition, the jinn had created a surah like it. But regardless of the reason, there's the 10 surahs like it challenge. At some point, it gets out. Well, maybe you could do 1, but can you do 10? If this was truly the work of men, then you could make 10 surahs like it. And then finally, it says an entire book like it. And of course, there's no criteria to establish this. But we'll come back to that for my next reason. Elle is out of the room.
I am back.
Run!
She has returned.
She went to look for more reasons.
No, sorry guys, this is where I'm imitating coming down to the lower heavens, so I can ask if anybody's been speaking my name, and I hear that there has been. So, yes. So 2 reasons then, correct?
Dos.
2 for you. I've only
reasons.
given 1 so far. I've
Okay.
done 2.
So, I've been trying to focus on how Allah has abrogated the Quran, which all of the reasons are super fishy. But we talked about how it was eaten by either sheep or a goat.
Abrogated.
Uh, we talked about how it was lost in battle. We talked about how it was caused to be forgotten. And so now I'm going to talk about how it was burned, which will segue into the next one. And so in Sahih Bukhari 4987, we see Uthman sent to every Muslim province one copy of what they had copied in order that all the other Quranic materials, whether written in fragmentary manuscripts or whole copies, be burnt. But here's the thing, that's not the end of Sahih Bukhari 4987. We see, if we continue reading the very next sentence, Said bin Thabit added, a verse from Surat Azab was missed by me when we copied the Quran, and I used to hear Allah's apostle reciting it. So part 1, it was burned. Part 2, it was missed. So not only was the Quran burned, but they actually missed some of it. So 2 different ways that the Quran has been abrogated, which shows that it is not the perfectly preserved words of Allah.
So David, you have a DJ, right? So remember the old song, The Roof is on fire?
It's a roof.
Our roof.
A
Our roof is on fire.
Alright, so as you may have guessed, I'm going to do Surah Like It Challenge Part 2. I ended my previous one by saying there's no criteria to establish this. And Islamic scholars don't know the criteria either, if you read different scholars. Now most Muslims, the most common Muslims will say that it's impossible to create something that sounds similar. However, scholars have debated what this means. Maybe it's the secret divine knowledge which is untestable, or maybe it's the moral teachings, or various other suggestions of what it means. But if we take it seriously, the only thing that it could mean is that it is completely unique. But the problem is, every single thing ever created is technically unique in some way. Specifically, I'm thinking of books here, right? They'll say, that might sound similar, but according to these technical things that we can point to, it's actually different. Yeah, well, you have different words, it's going to technically be different. So, by that criteria, every single thing any human being has ever created is in fact the word of Allah. Well, what does this mean? This means that the test itself is false. It is a logical contradiction. Over 2. Allah tried 2 ways to prove Islam. Both of them don't even get off the ground because they are non-splitters.
So, I would like to, I would like to piggyback off that. The inimitability of the Quran means that you ought to be able to tell what is Quran and what isn't. Like you're supposed to be able to tell because it's so excellent, it's fabulous. No one would mistake them, but the entire problem with so many people not knowing which reading is correct means that no one can tell what is Quran and what isn't. They never go, why this is the superior, most excellent way of reading it. Therefore, that's the true way of reading it. They use all kinds of other arguments based on whether or not it is, how many people have read it, whether or not it makes, that they feel like it makes more sense, but not that it is so clear. But people were still reciting it wrong. They were still reciting it in different ways. And they weren't reciting it in the same way. And it's not because people thought all of this came from Allah. They don't. Go to Al-Tabari. He does not think that these all come from Allah. None of the early scholars think that this all comes from Allah. Uthman burnt everything else because lots of it didn't come from Allah. He wasn't burning stuff that he thought came from Allah unless you want to say that he is an apostate. So that means that you can't tell. The most excellent people couldn't tell just by hearing it what was from Allah and what was not. Therefore, the challenge of a surah like it is nonsensical because there are many ayah that are just like it as far as people are concerned, because they're reciting the wrong thing, because they're messing it up, because there's this question. So that's my next one.
And you brought up, like, you know, clearly he wasn't seen as an apostate, right? But even if he was, and some were not very happy about it clearly too, so that's like, you know, questionable as well. But if he was, that's even worse, right? Because Allah let his holy eternal word be destroyed by apostates? Like, either way, not good, not good, not good.
So my next one would be, and I'm surprised we have not hit this one yet, that the ideal man for all creation married a 6-year-old girl and consummated the marriage when she was 9, and she was a prepubescent child, as according to the Hadith. Specifically, Sahih al-Bukhari 16. My goodness, Sahih al-Bukhari 61:30. As well as many others. Sahih Muslim 1422b, Sahih Muslim again 1422c, and so on. There are so many there that are very clear that she was a prepubescent child when Muhammad consummated the marriage.
How old was she?
9 years
She
old.
was 9 years old!
Oh, 18, I thought.
And playing with dolls, which I know a lot of people. Do you want to elaborate on the dolls thing?
Oh, the dolls being the very clearly, that's from Sahih al-Bukhari 60, like I said, 61:30, where it specifically says the playing with dolls and other similar images is forbidden, but it was allowed for Aisha at that time. She was a little girl, not yet reached the age of puberty. And it's very clear because there's other hadith that state that Muhammad consummated the marriage with Aisha when she was 9, and she used to play with dolls. Bit of an issue.
Just wanted to make sure everybody was clear on that point, because even just recently, there has been videos that Muslims have made trying to refute the claims that she was prepubescent, and
Well, and then the mother of believers is a liar then, because she said.
Yeah, she said it herself.
She said it herself.
I mean, I don't know that you want to get into all that Sunni Shia infighting, though.
It gets ugly.
But
But she
only
laughed.
one Islam, right?
No, but I mean, this is actually a serious issue. Like, even if you just focused on the sort of back and forth over the past 20 years on that one issue, if you ignored everything else, when it's people, non-Muslims eventually find out what's in the hadith about Aisha being 9 years old when Muhammad consummated the marriage with her, and we have tons of sources saying this. And so back then, it was one of the most common arguments for Muslims to use to say that we know Muhammad's a prophet because of his outstanding moral character. So this got brought up in response to that. Wait, you're saying this guy's so good that he has to be a prophet? This is a guy who had sex with a 9-year-old girl, according to your own sources. Then the response came, you're a bunch of liars, our sources don't say that, because they knew that most people had no clue it was in the sources. They just heard it from somewhere, they heard it from someone, they heard it from someone like me or some other critic of Islam. And so the Muslims, no, these guys are lying, they're making things up. That was their first response. They're lying, they're making things up. Then it actually got to where people would have a source in front of them saying, no, it says it right here. Sahih al-Bukhari 51:33, it says it right here. And then the response would be, oh yes, it says it there, but that's a weak hadith. Because no one knew what a weak hadith was. People didn't know. And then some people start going, oh, it's just a weak hadith, don't believe that. Then people find out what a strong hadith is, and that we have tons of sahih narrations claiming this. So then the response was, okay, so you have those narrations, but there are all these other narrations that say she was much older, so it's just the hadith are confused. And people say, oh, okay, that solves the problem. So there's some hadiths, but there are all these other hadiths that say this. And then for years we had to go, show us one. Show us one. Show us one. Show us one that says she was 18. Show us. Where are you getting this from? And we had to do that for years. And then it became, oh yes, she was 9 years old, okay, but she had reached puberty. So then we have to spend a couple of years going around saying, no, it specifically says she hadn't reached puberty. Surah 65 verse 4 says a girl doesn't have to reach puberty. You can marry her, have sex with her, divorce her, and pass her on to the next guy over and over and over again, all before a girl has ever reached puberty. So then so after showing that Aisha hadn't reached puberty, then the response became, oh, but Rebecca was 3.
Mary was like an
And Mary was 12,
fetus.
according to the Catholic Encyclopedia. So then we go to the Catholic Encyclopedia. It says we have no clue how old she was. We don't have a source. It says we don't know. But Rebecca was 3. Actually, she was it specifically says she was a young woman. I don't know what it takes for people to realize that they are dealing with chronic, compulsive liars. I don't say that about other people. There are atheists who lie. There are Christians who lie. And so I don't know of like a community of preachers who lie as freely and as frequently as the Dawa guys. It's so weird. And yet, you can point out 1,000 lies from these guys. It will not affect the confidence of their followers one bit. It's just accepted in the community that lying is perfectly acceptable. Weird stuff.
Did you say chronic?
What?
Chronic.
Hey,
Chronic.
hey, look,
That's what that is. Roll it up.
I'm about to smoke this chronic.
We'll put some hellfire to it.
Oh my gosh.
Wait, is it my turn?
Wait, what are we doing?
It is your turn.
It is your turn.
It is yours.
David
All right.
just rudely went on a tirade.
All right.
The 9th reason I'm giving why
That's right.
the Quran is
What?
false is because it is not true that Muhammad is prophesied in the Bible in the way that it's claimed the Muhammad that he is. So the Quran will say, that the Bible speaks about Muhammad. Obviously, they don't mean passages where it says false prophets will arise. I'll get to that one later. They're saying in a complimentary way that he's spoken of. He is not. So the Dawah guys usually have to go to John 14:26 as the place where they find him, or one of the places. There's a couple other places, as you guys know. But when you actually look at those, they really say the opposite from what the Quran and the Hadith describe about Muhammad. Listen to John 14, verse 16. We're going to look at all the paraclete or advocate passages.
Bring it out.
In the LSB, it's called advocate. So let's go with this. And I will ask the Father, this is Jesus speaking, and he will give you another advocate, that he may be with you forever, the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it does not see him or know him. You know him, because he abides with you and will be in you. The next line is interesting, because Jesus says to the disciples, in reference to sending the Paraclete, translated here as advocate, he says, I will not leave you as orphans, but I can think of at least one guy that Muhammad left as an orphan. One? At least one.
At least one.
The one whom he took his wife and said, Muhammad is not the father of any of these men. John 14:26,
He
which
made
is
a lot more
supposed to
orphans
be.
than that, though.
Oh, we know.
Father.
But I'm talking about one that was done in a legal instead of metal kind of way. But the advocate, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name. So notice, this advocate, this Paraclete, is sent by the Father in the name of Jesus. This is very Trinitarian, by the way. So take your say not 3 and apply it to here. Too late, there's 3 right here in the passage. One of them is not Muhammad. He will teach you all things and bring to your remembrance all that I said to you. Peace I leave with you. So this advocate has to also do that. Muhammad didn't do that. My peace I give to you, not as the world gives, do I give to you. Do not let your heart be troubled, nor let it be fearful. Now look at John 15 as we continue with the farewell discourse about these Paraclete passages, and ask yourself, is that Muhammad? Verse 26, when the advocate comes, whom I, that's Jesus talking, will send to you from the Father, notice again, Trinitarian, the Spirit of truth who proceeds from the Father, he will bear witness about me. And you will bear witness also because you have been with me from the beginning. John 16, verse 7, Jesus says this, but I tell you the truth, it is to your advantage that I go away. For if I do not go away, the advocate will not come to you. But if I go, I will send him to you. So again, you would have Jesus being the one sending Muhammad. Then look at this Paraclete passage, the last one I'm going to look at here, from John 16, verses 13 and 14. But when he, the Spirit of truth, not the greatest deceiver, comes, he will guide you into all truth, for he will not speak from himself, but whatever he hears, he will speak, and he will disclose to you what is to come. He will glorify me. So according to this, if Muhammad's the advocate or paraclete, he glorifies Jesus. For he will take of mine and will disclose it to you. This is clearly not Muhammad. This is the third person of the triune God, the Holy Spirit. That's why I don't believe in the Quran. I don't know which way it passes.
To me.
Going to him now.
I got
Did
confused.
you take a page?
Oh no.
And you
You're gonna
mentioned
mess
like
us up,
a
man.
ton of
You're gonna
them.
mess us up. We're not gonna
Good
have enough
job.
candles.
So wow.
Well, you know, we could just rip them out after.
That's not even, what is,
That's not
we
Quran.
want real Quran, man. Go to the middle. Get a real page of the real
Go
Quran.
ahead.
Not the publication date.
Do it for me, slave.
Says the one who's not even rolling them up. I see your
What?
stack over there.
I was rolling them up, then the stack, my stacks
You
got
know,
too
Snoop
fat.
Dogg-
My stacks got too fat.
Snoop Dogg hired a guy just to roll
Then
his
you
blunts.
unrolled them all.
I'd like to hire someone just to roll these up because I'm busy doing scholastic
Anyone
work
want to
over
be our
here.
Quran roller?
Why I gotta roll this
Hand
up
it to me,
too?
I'll be the mom.
Oh, thank you.
What,
thank
the
you.
greatest Quranagani artist of all time doesn't want to roll up some Quran pages?
I'll roll them up. I'm just keeping them ready until we're ready to roll them up.
We've been rolling up as we've been
All right,
rolling
guys.
up.
All right, guys. Easy one, easy one, easy one. Surah 65, verse 12 of the Quran says that Allah, and a bunch of verses in the Quran talk about the seven heavens, but Surah 65, verse 12 says that Allah created the seven heavens and the earth, and of the earth, the like of them. So Allah created 7 earths. Now you think, oh, well, what's that referred to? Muhammad explained it in the Hadith, Jami at-Tirmidhi. He said that you have these 7 earths and they're stacked up on each other like pancakes, but with some space in between them. If you actually dig down, you could go through one earth, then a giant space, and then you could get to the next earth. And you could do that through all 7 earths. And Muslims, are you even willing to defend that?
And
course
underneath the
you're not.
earths? What's underneath the
Well,
earth?
NASA discovered.
Oh yeah, now if you keep going, then you find out there's this giant fish or whale down there, and the 7 earths are stacked up on top of that. And then, these are there's like 20 extra errors right here. And then sometimes this fish gets agitated and starts flopping around. That's what earthquakes come from. We can keep going, ladies and gentlemen. We can keep going.
And how much of a journey is it between the two?
It was a 500-year journey in between each one.
500.
It doesn't explain what that is, but it doesn't matter what you say it is. You can say it's a journey of a snail, it's a journey of a person walking, it's a journey of a person on a motorcycle, it's a journey of a person in a spaceship, a flying donkey monster, whatever you want to say, you're not getting there. You're not getting there. You can say aboard the Starship Enterprise, it's not getting there. That's for all you Wingeling fans out there.
Make it so.
Does anybody want any totally probably not halal pepperoni pizza?
How long's that been sitting out?
Not very long.
We believe you.
Hey Jay,
It's
how
like-
long's that been there in heat lamps? Oh, I say about 2 days. Oh, good. I like it fresh.
It was like done at like 6:45. It's
Take
not
me back, that's
9:45
the
yet.
time.
It's been less than 3 hours.
Hey, wouldn't it be funny if we all got food poisoning?
Yeah,
It's been less than 3 hours.
You see.
and you all died.
Yeah, I was just
Oh, wait.
thinking how funny it'd be if we all got food poisoning.
No, I
Maybe
think
we
that would
should
be
shoot
funny.
a video about that tomorrow.
About food poisoning?
Yeah, they'd be going, you
Food poisoning.
see.
Interesting. I think maybe we should.
They made fun of the Quran.
One of the reasons that Quran is false, again and again, Quran expresses that this is clear book and detailed in everything. Surah 2 verse 1 has these magical words in it, which is mentioned in 29 different surahs. And explanation of those magical words is we don't know what it is. Allah is the only one who knows it. So clearly that is not very clear at all if Allah is the one who only knows it. Therefore, I think Quran is false.
That's deep. Bring it out. Okay, I got to. I'm gonna call this one Maury instead of Maury Povich. I'm gonna call it Miriam Povich. because Allah says that he needs a girlfriend if he was going to have a child.
Good one.
Okay, and apparently not according to what is it, Surah 66:12, where his spirit is OBGYN blown into Miriam's womb, and she conceives Isa. So through Jibril. So I don't know how that goes. It says we.
Kind of sounds like he's the father, but he's not the father.
He sounds like a very irresponsible guy that's not claiming his kid.
Deadbeat alive.
It sounds very similar to all the descriptions of Zeus.
Like he's not, listen, if child support comes around, it's not his, okay? So the next one I have is Muhammad being sent to people of certain tongues, right? The Arabic language, it was sent down in the Arabic language for Arabic speaking people. So my question is to Muslims, why are you trying to spread it, and why, according to like Surah 9, like overall throughout the Quranic verses, why are we supposed to be believing in him and fight those who don't believe? I don't speak Arabic. It's not my mother tongue. So why is that? And I mean, if you guys want to do the no compulsion and show the compulsory verses, but that's just mine, is that Muhammad is only supposed to be for the Arabic speakers. So why am I to believe in him? And that's it. Roll it up.
Is this the last line?
No, there's a few more.
We're only
What number are we
halfway
up to?
We're only halfway done.
That was 74, so you'll be 75.
There's no way that's 74. I've got
That
like
was
50 here.
65. That was 65.
I know.
One
Yeah,
of
and
the
it's
reason
coming
Quran is false, especially when we talk about the Hafs Quran. Islamic tradition tells us Mr. Hafs was not reliable. He was identified as thief, and his hadiths were not reliable at all. And Quran apparently comes to us from Wakem Quran Muhammad. Mr. Hafs never met Muhammad. Muhammad was dead and in hell for 187 years when Hafs was producing this book. And current book we are reading in our hands actually has nothing to do with Hafs, because we got no manuscripts can support it. So since I don't know where it comes from, and Muslims are telling me that we should not be trusting this gentleman, therefore I am saying Quran is false, since God knows who this person is. Or sorry, I just rephrase my last sentence. Allah, who doesn't even know who are the believers, probably knows who this person is.
In Surah 21, Allah talks about rescuing Abraham from the fire. We know where that story comes from. And it doesn't come from history. Unless you're talking about a history of mistranslations. Because, here's the scenario, right? Abraham is delivered out of a city that's called Ur. Ur is a Babylonian word for city. The city's just called city, right? So, in Genesis 15, God says that he delivered Abraham out of Ur of the Chaldeans. Now, so Ur is just the name of the city, and in Babylonian the word just means city. However, in Hebrew, Ur means fire. So, you had some later Jewish commentators and so on, and translators, who, they're translating this passage, they see the word Ur, which in their language means fire. They don't know Babylonian, that this word just means city. So they actually translate this as God delivered Abraham out of the fire of the Chaldeans. It's not what it says. The text just, again, that's a word that means city in Babylonian. They saw the word Ur, translated it in Hebrew, and said fire. And after that, people started coming up with stories about Abraham actually being delivered miraculously out of the fire. We know it's based on a mistranslation. And yet it ended up, the story of Abraham being delivered from the fire ended up in the Quran. So you actually have teachings in the Quran that come from are based entirely upon a mistranslation.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'm ready for my next reason why I do not believe the Quran, why it is false and not true. And it's a big one. Muhammad, the messenger that we understand is behind this book, but even if you have a different view, you see him as this messenger. And he certainly has authority, and he's righting the wrongs of Paul and all these wacky-tacky Christians, supposedly, who came after him and got it all wrong. But you know what's interesting? Muhammad's not even qualified to be a leader in the Church of Christ. He failed the basic qualifications. Let me show you what I mean. When the qualifications for an overseer, sometimes understood to be a bishop or a pastor or elder, essentially synonymous terms or offices, they're laid out. And I want you to read these and hear these and say, Muhammad, yes, no? This is from 1 Timothy chapter 3. Listen to this. It is a trustworthy saying. If any man aspires to the office of overseer, he desires a good work. An overseer then must be above reproach, the husband of one wife, temperate, sensible, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not addicted to wine, or pugnacious, means you want to fight, but considerate, peaceable, free from the love of money. And then it goes on and talks about how he must lead his own household well. Then in verse 6 it picks up, it says he must not be a new convert, so that he will not become conceited and fall into the condemnation of the devil. He must have a good reputation with those outside the church, so that he will not fall into the reproach and the snare of the devil. Now my point by saying that is especially one particular thing, the husband of one wife. Now I think all those can be problematic, or a lot of those can be problematic in regards to Muhammad, saying he's not even qualified to be a leader of God's people, is the point of this. Especially the husband of one wife. He violates that one alone clearly. He is not even qualified by biblical standards to be a leader in any kind of official capacity for the people of God. And that's why I do not believe in the Quran. Thank you.
Right. Bring it out.
A quick break for some more super chats, and also David let me know he noticed that the fundraiser has been fully completed. So thank you guys very much for that. You really appreciate your help. I think that deserves a round of goats. 3, 2, 1.
Hey, check this out. Dual wheel.
Triple wheels. Say not 3, but maybe 3 screens?
Don't say 3, just say 2 plus 3.
Say not 3.
Yeah. So we also have, let's see, so we have, trying to remember where I left off. Okay, so Celeria says, didn't realize this was going to happen today, but I'm glad to be able to catch it, at least for a while. Keep doing good work, everyone. God bless. Well, thank you. God bless you too. Normal's Overrated says, just a friendly reminder, International Apostasy Day is in 6 weeks from today, the 8/22. Imagine if we could inspire even a small percentage of the millions of secret apostates to rally together with others. That would be wonderful.
But aren't all non-Muslims apostates?
Yes. Well, yeah, they are.
Strictly speaking, yes.
Which actually,
So it's
that'd be a good
International
reason. Yeah,
Non-Muslim Day.
We're all ex-Muslims according to
that is true. So, Yusuf says, I need one of these goats. I'll feed her Quran every day, I promise. Well, feel free to come get one. We would love to have somebody to help feed them. Cheeky Shiki says, God bless you guys. Or Cheeky Shaky, sorry, I always mispronounce that. Sir Dr. Whitemeat says, I haven't seen this many Turks in a church since they stole Hagia Sophia. Just kidding, love you all.
Just for the clarification, we didn't stole it. We didn't stole it when
She's trying to defend Turks, you see?
I'm not
Uh-oh.
defending.
Here we
There is
go.
no need to defend. So
AP would be here attacking Turks. That's right. Turks are evil. Don't ever trust Turks.
we didn't steal it. So
Uh-huh.
when we moved into Istanbul, there were these kafir were living there. We simply asked them to stay or leave, and then give them another option. Whatever they took, of course, that land was simply like just made for us. They just left it for us.
Muhammad prophesied
okay.
that the Muslims would control Constantinople.
Yeah, just timing was wrong, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he predicted it much sooner, but you know.
yeah. So there is no stealing.
So because they put
It
all
was
of their
gift to
army's
us.
efforts into fulfilling that prophecy, it makes him a
Yeah.
true prophet.
Yeah.
Sadly, it turned to mosque now.
They shared life. They
Yeah,
shared
we
life.
shared life.
That's the
We
way
taught
she
them.
words it. She shared
Yeah.
life. Islam comes along and shares life with you. And it says, hey, get down or lay down. I don't know if that's in the Quran and verses. But yeah, that's right.
I think that is a sort of like it.
Yeah.
That is a sir liken to it. Yeah,
Well-
the challenge. Just come up with 100 more. What is it? Whatever it is.
You know what? Tomorrow's going to end in the letter Y. Boom. Whatever day that is. I'm a prophet.
Good.
I'll let you.
So normal is overrated says Arabic or Arabic?
That's funny. Hey, on the conquest of Constantinople, funny little hadith here, Sunan Abadad 4294. The prophet said, "The flourishing state of Jerusalem will be when Yathrib, Medina, is in ruins." So Jerusalem's going to flourish when Medina is in ruins. The ruined state of Yathrib will be when the Great War comes. The outbreak of the Great War will be at the conquest of Constantinople. And the conquest of Constantinople when the Dajjal comes forth. So Constantinople is supposed to be conquered when the Dajjal comes. Oopsie!
I just
Wrong.
missed that one.
You don't need to be that jealous.
No, I'm not.
As I told you, like we just went there to share life and take over and
But you guys
get
did,
rid of the lives.
you guys did a good job. Turks always are great at everything.
Take over
That's
stuff.
why everyone wants to move to Turkey.
And
Yeah.
strangely, they did actually think they're bringing in the end of the world when they took Constantinople. But they didn't bother them when they didn't come. Yeah.
Well, it kind of did. They thought it would happen like immediately, and then they were staying around like,
I
So,
was
now
just
what?
joking. I was just
okay.
joking.
so have we still established that baklava is Greek?
Hey. Jamia Termini 2238. The conquest of Constantinople and the coming of the Dajjal occur in the span of 7 months. Wow. He's here, ladies.
Whoops.
That is your timing is different than
Missed
ours.
that one by few.
Allah doesn't know months, so give him time.
A month is like, you know, a million days.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
what? Oh, wait, hold on. No, that doesn't work. Never mind.
You gotta do the ratio.
So we've got one more super chat, and then Eric, it will be your turn. We have the last super chat is from Celeria that says Sahih al-Bukhari 4987 talks about the fact Uthman burned the Quran and made a single book in part because of the people of Syria and Iraq were killing each other over their use of different recitations. That is one of the sources that I've brought up. Yes, it is important to recognize that they burned it first.
But, okay, did Allah send a message down to Uthman to tell him to compile the Quran? Did Jibril choke him out in a cave or maybe in a garage? Maybe, I don't know.
There
Did he-
seemed to be some contentions even at the time saying, how could we do something that even Muhammad himself didn't do? So,
No, it's crazy. This came out in the live stream I did with Jai and Daughter of Christ, that just random kind of Muslims or Muslim leaders or Muslim scholars or popular Muslims or any Muslim who had power, they made all of these decisions along the way about the Quran. So with Uthman. Even if they want to say no, he's just getting rid of the different dialects. There's no possible way to interpret it. He's just doing away with different dialects. But suppose you granted just that. Suppose you went with the ridiculous explanations that, oh, he's just burning up all the different dialects. Who gave him authority to do that? So Allah revealed it in all those ways, and this guy says, I'm taking out 6 of the 7. We're getting rid of those, so we don't fight over this stuff. So you don't fight over this stuff that Allah revealed, but every step of the way. Oh, now we're going to have these 7 kirat. Who decides that? A guy. And then, no, we're going to say it's 10. No, we're going to say it's this. No, we're going to say it's that. And there's just people making all these decisions until you get down to the 1924 Cairo edition of the Quran. They say, hey, everyone, this is the Quran that we want the world to be. And then they'll say, this is the only Quran that's ever existed. It's like it's just amazing. Like any Muslim scholar can make a decision and go to the Muslim community and they'll think that's the way it's always been. And this goes back to Muhammad. And it's insane. It's completely insane.
But it's a violation because how did Uthman destroy Allah's perfectly preserved word, which he said he would, like no one could change it. Like Uthman in a little bitty campfire destroyed it.
Well, apparently everybody was changing it because they were disagreeing. So everybody was changing it. So he was like, yeah, sure, I can burn it because everyone else is changing it too.
So it might be helpful also to remember when individuals were making decision which books we are going to choose, which Qurans we are going to choose. When there was opposition to that, people would end up in prison and tortured. Like Al-Hajjaj gives 60 dirham to just like tear the Quran and then he burns it in oil. In 1924, when they kind of officialized the Quran, they put all the rest in the Nile. So they didn't want like differences. And tradition talks about the reason they did that, so they wanted to kind of redo what Uthman and Al-Hajjaj did. So it is in the history of the Quran or in the history of the word of Allah, it is common that word of Allah needs to suffer. It suffered from God, it suffered under the Uthman by fire, it suffered under Al-Hajjaj, it suffered under Ibn Mujahid, like all of the tradition, and then at the end it just ends up in the Nile. Sad. And still you hear from Muslims there was always one perfect Quran, perfectly
You're
preserved.
making me feel
So the
bad.
Quran
You're
is
making me feel
denial.
bad for this Quran. Look what they've done to you.
But people,
Look what they've done to you.
like for you to do that, they would give you money to do that.
They should send me the check. I'll do this all day.
What do
every
you think
day.
super chats are?
Yeah.
Audience, hint, hint.
So I'll go on to the next one. Next one in my book would be.
Hey, wait, what?
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 What? Wait.
You should make a
It's way
site.
too late.
Just make a site called Quran OnlyFans,
Oh gosh.
and then it's just a video where people are sending in tokens and telling you what to do with the Quran. Burn it. Oh, okay, here we go. All right, do this. Okay.
That could go.
And wait, you gotta play that
Oh
music.
yeah. I mean, there are limits. You're not going to do anything. But
Yeah,
do
you,
a lot of
gotta, you
things.
gotta play the music, I'm never gonna dance again. Music in the background. You want me to rip this page?
That could get in some real weird places.
hey,
Literally.
I've got almost enough. Quran pages to reassemble my own Quran over here.
Isn't it his turn?
Yeah, well, that's
Interrupt
great.
him, bro.
Alright, good.
The one I would pick next would be the highest position a human can have is that of a slave. You are nothing more than a piece of material that Allah owns. That's it.
Aw.
You are a slave, boy.
And since that contradicts what was revealed before, whenever it's supposed to confirm it, that would be disqualifying.
And that's why you're in the
Is
night.
that the totality of your reason?
No, my reason is one of my favorites. I love this so much. So, Surah 81. It said, and there's this whole thing about the end of the world, right? And there's a description of it. And it says, when the savage beasts shall be mustered, when the sea shall be set boiling, when the souls shall be paired, like espoused in mated pairs, okay? And these 3 verses all relate to the flood of Noah. And I love this verse, this section, because if you look in context, Muhammad is going from some sort of hymn or something that largely comes from the Olivet Discourse, and Muhammad heard the words as it was in the days of Noah, without any of the other bits. So he thought that what was meant by as it was in the days of Noah, not that some will be left and some will be swept away and it will come upon people unawares, which is what the text says. He doesn't know what that means. So he's like, all the animals will get together and then they'll pair up. And so throughout the Quran, it is given over and over and over and over again as a sign of a law that things are in male and female pairs, male and female, male and female, male and female. Even plants. So plants exist in mated pairs, not some plants, not a few plants, like not just hollies, which are male or female, but rather every plant. So there are boy wheat and girl wheat. There are boy fig trees and girl fig trees. There are boy citrus and girl citrus, according to a law. I love that one. I love it so much.
And the girl wheat,
The girl wheat makes
half as smart as the guy wheat.
Yeah, apparently it's very stupid wheat. But also, he thinks that half of wheat plants don't produce anything because it'd be boy wheat. He honestly thinks that. It's amazing. I love that surah. It's one of the dumbest ones.
All right, before I give my next reason, I did want to point out to the audience. Now we've gotten a number of reasons that Islam is false, but on this cake you can see some very good reasons, pretty much all the reasons Muslims can come up with for Islam being true.
Absolutely nothing.
It is
Rude.
very sad. 'Cause I mean, we've asked, we've tried to give them opportunity over and over and over. I've heard Hatun ask a ton
Rude.
of times why people
Why are you
are
Muslim?
Muslim.
Because we worship the one true God. Even though we kiss a stone and bow to a Nintendo 64 in the middle of a desert and like Allah praise. But hey, we're monotheists, okay? That's all that matters.
You're trying to get some bonus reasons in there, I think.
What?
You're trying to get some bonus reasons in, I think.
Oh, no, I'm just narrowing it down to monotheism.
All right, so I realize we're coming towards the end, and I only have a limited number of speaking chances left. There's so many things I want to cover.
No, right?
But
It's hard.
inspired by recent discussion of Constantinople and then Mary saying the end of the world and Noah's animals somehow being related, I want to talk about prophecy in Islam. When we ask what prophecies Muhammad came with, Muslims will tell us one of two things generally. I generally only ever hear two things. One is the actually ambiguous passage in the Quran, which is not written down until after the events take place. This is called prophecy ex eventual in scholarship, prophecy written after the fact, where of the victory of the Romans over the Persians. Problem though, that's supposed to be Allah's words. How's it Muhammad's prophecy exactly? I don't know. Or they'll tell us about, you see it being fulfilled today. They're building large buildings in Saudi Arabia and whatnot. Comes from a hadith, not spoken by Muhammad, by the way, of some companions saying, we've made so much money in jihad that there is nothing left to do now, not in the future, now it's not a prophecy, except some people are wasting their money building tall buildings. These are the prophecies of Islam that Muslims point to. But there is one prophecy that you hear over and over and over again in the Quran and the Hadith. There's a reason Muhammad calls himself a warner in the Quran. That's his preferred title, what he gives himself over and over again. He is warning that the end is about to come. And he makes that clear. He points to a young boy and says, if this boy lives to an old age, he will see the end of the world. That narrows it down pretty clearly. But in case that wasn't clear enough, in another hadith he says it'll be within 100 years. I also said that it's related to the destruction of Constantinople and has not come. Interesting. Seems that the most important prophecy, the one that defined his prophethood, didn't come to be.
Interesting. So have we really touched, I know I've been in and out a little bit, but nobody's really touched on, I mean, we've touched on like it confirming that which came before it, but have we gone into specifics about that at all?
Dang, you stole mine.
I mean, there's like a ton of them. Which one did you want?
No,
Give
you
me
got
a
it, you
verse.
got it.
Give me a
Just go
verse. I got a bunch up.
No, go ahead.
So, okay. So, I hear all the time from Muslims that we can't rely on the gospel, we can't rely on the Torah. It's been changed, which obviously we've gone over and over and over how Allah says His words can't be changed, and yet all these ways they are either lost or forgotten or changed somehow. But what do we see when we look at the Quran, which granted has itself been changed? Well, sadly for Muslims, we see that you are especially to judge by the gospel and the Torah. In fact, in Surah 5:43 through 47, it says, whoever does not judge by what Allah has revealed, and specifically in the context of 5:43 through 47, that being the Torah and the gospel, they are defiantly disobedient and disbelievers. We also see when we look at other passages, sorry I had them up, but there's just so many that I'm scrolling through to try to find the best one. So Surah 285, for example, we see, and this is quite long, but if we look at part B, we see, so do you believe in part of the scripture and disbelieve in part? Then what is the recompense for those who do that among you, except disgrace in the worldly life, and on the day of resurrection they will be sent back to the severest of punishment, and Allah is not unaware of what you do. So what happens if you disregard some of the scriptures that Allah claims to have revealed, such as the Torah and the Gospel? In this world, you are disgraced, and in the end, on the day of resurrection, you get the severest of punishment. So Muslims, you cannot be rejecting the Torah and the Gospel. And what happens when you judge by them? Again, you see that Jesus Christ is God. So that's 2 verses. Does that count for, well actually that's a whole lot more than 2 verses, but 2 different sections of the Quran. So I will count that.
All right. So for my next one, inspired by my live stream yesterday, I want to talk about Surah 111, written about an individual known as Abu Lahab. This surah is nothing but a curse of Allah on one particular individual. At the start of my stream yesterday, I played a video by Mufti Menk in which he says, someone asked me, can you believe it? Someone asked me, how could Allah do such a thing? How could He curse just one person? And then the Mufti's amazing answer is, Allah is the one who reveals the text. He can say whatever He wants to say. He loves Muhammad so much that He sends down this curse on one guy who bothered him. And this reflects a pattern we see in the Quran, time and time again, of people being called out by Allah, not because of some moral crime or something, but because they said mean things about Muhammad. Yes, the eternal word of Allah, revealed to the Jews, revealed to the Christians, and by the way, also supposedly revealed to every people group on the planet, contains numerous passages about a particular 7th century individual being insulted by others. Strange stuff for the eternal word of Allah.
And I will go with the one from the pen, 68. There's a particularly funny section where he's like, they say that you are mad. Well, they will see, and you will see who's really the one who is under witchcraft, under an enchantment. No one else is crazy. There is nothing in any of the sources that any of the people are crazy. That's not among the accusations of the material. So basically Allah, just like a annoyed toddler, is like, no, you. I know you are, but what am I? Kind of response. Because these people weren't insane. And yet Allah's like, no, you were. And then later he just calls the guy bastard for no reason at all. Just because he's like, mad. I know that secretly you're really a bastard. So there, So anyway, the ridiculous, very human childishness of it is what I like.
Okay, so I'm going back to the ideal for all mankind, that is Muhammad and his character. Remember, this is the man that every Muslim man wants to be like, including what foot he needs to step in the bathroom with. So, when we look at his character, we find out that he is a slave trader, that he's a white man, which is very clear. And he owned, bought, and traded black slaves, and the header is very clear that they consider this trading animals for animals of unequal value or quantity. So that would be Sunan Nasai. Let's see.
Sunan Nasai?
Yep, 46:21, and then we see in provisions of the afterlife, pages 30 and 31, that he had quite a few slaves.
So just to clarify, which of those animals were the least valuable?
That's a good question, considering he was trading 2 black slaves for 1 Arab slave. So there you go. Who is the more valuable?
2 for 1 deal.
It's 2 for 1 deal, and he didn't have to do it. That was his starting price. It was what he offered to begin with.
All ready?
Ready?
All right. An interesting thing about the Quran's message is that its teaching parallels something that is called the Colossian heresy, or the heresy at Colossae. So when you read the book of Colossians, there's some kind of syncretist teaching that's going on there that New Testament scholars have called the heresy at Colossae, or the Colossian heresy. It entails different elements from different sources. It appears to be sort of a collage or montage of greatest hits of error. And it's interesting that some of these things parallel things that you find in the Quran. And so yet another reason I don't believe the Quran's teaching is that it's condemned with the condemnation of the Colossian heresy. Let me read to you Colossians chapter 1, starting in verse, let me read to you Colossians chapter 2, starting in verse 16. Therefore, let no one pass judgment on you in questions of food and drink, number 1, or with regard to a festival. You can think of lots of festivals that could include. Or a new moon. Whoa. Interesting. Uh-oh. Or a Sabbath. These are a shadow of the things to come. But the substance belongs to Christ. And during the time of Muhammad, Christ had already come. Let no one disqualify you, insisting on asceticism. That's some form of a denial of the body. You might think of a hermit or a monk that would try to do this type of thing, the ascetics. But there's mild asceticism, besides just living alone. It can have to do with denial of certain things, especially in an attempt to gain spiritual favor as an outward act of piety. Insisting on asceticism and worship of angels. Now you could say that technically you don't have worship of angels in Islam, but it's interesting that an angel's the one revealing the Quran. And look at the very next line. Going on in detail about visions. So this is a common trick. This is something heretics have done. This is something false teachers have done, where they have angels in some way in the mix of their heresy, and then they go into details about these visions they supposedly had. This sounds like Muhammad, especially the next line. Puffed up without reason by his sensuous mind. That's a mind that's dedicated to fleshly things. Puffed up without reason, meaning you don't have any reason to have a big head with your sensuous mind. Not holding fast to the head. Who's that? That's Christ. It's saying they ain't holding on to Jesus, from whom the whole body, nourished and knit together through its joints and ligaments, grows with the growth that is from God. So, don't believe in the Quran because it directly violates what we see here, and it parallels the Colossian heresy. It's already been condemned, so I pass on it. No thanks. Wood?
What
Did
say
you
you?
take your page?
You can
Okay.
do that.
I had a couple different points, but going on that issue about the angel there made me start thinking earlier when we were talking about Satan being the first Muslim, and then Mary corrected me and said no, Allah. We talk about how Satan, anyone talking about how Satan is the actual hero in Islam yet?
No,
No.
that was
He
one
was
that we
the
mentioned
seed.
it for you to come back to, so I'm glad you did.
Yeah, so it's just interesting in the Quran. Modern Muslims and even non-Muslims will read this when Allah commands all the angels, everyone, to bow down to Adam. So everyone's, angels, jinn, everyone's supposed to bow down to Adam. Now the obvious question that should arise there is, why is he telling all these beings to bow down to this guy, right? But everyone just obeys. Oh, we're all bowing down to this guy. Everyone obeyed except Satan. And Muslims look at that as if he's just so prideful, because Satan's going like, wait a minute, I'm made from fire, he's made from clay, what's going on here? That's not, oh, I'm so great, I'm made from fire. He's saying, wait a minute, he's made from something lower than me. I'm not supposed to be bowing down to anything except Allah, and here I'm supposed to bow down to this thing that's lower than me? No. This has to be some sort of trick or test or something like that. I'm not falling for this. No, I'm not doing it. He's testing us. Everyone else mindlessly obeyed, and Satan said, no, there's no set of circumstances. I'm not bowing down to this. And he was punished. He's punished for that, right? And so it's this weird thing where Satan is the most faithful Muslim, and he's punished for it. He's punished for it. And then you go over to the hadith where Muhammad says that Allah would destroy us. He wants us to sin so much that if we didn't sin, he would annihilate us. He wants us to sin specifically so that he can forgive us. If we don't sin, he will wipe us out. He'll wipe us out. And so you say, oh, okay. Allah would wipe us all out if we didn't sin. Well, who's the one who tempted us to sin and got us to rebel? Satan. So if it weren't for Satan tempting us to do evil and to sin, Allah would destroy us. So Allah wants us to sin and would destroy us if we don't. And Satan actually comes in as our secret savior. He's our hidden hero. He's the one who saves us all by convincing us to sin, which is the only thing that keeps Allah from destroying us. And then, guess what? If Allah wants us to sin so much that he threatens us with annihilation if we refuse to sin, who would be the ultimate enemy of this great God, Allah? The one who refuses to sin. And that would make Jesus his greatest enemy. Guys, I've said it 1 trillion times. This theology of, oh, we just submit to God may sound great to you on a surface level. You dig a little deeper, all you find is demonic blasphemy. And this has all the hallmarks of Satan. And I don't mean the Islamic version.
So we've got a troublemaker in the chat, but they do want to help out. So Chicken Grease says, while you're here, hit the like, comment, share, and subscribe with the notification bell. We thank you guys all for being here. We're still going, enjoying this party together, but yeah, definitely if you're liking this, hit the thumbs up, comment, share, and subscribe for me.
We need to have a game show where these are the buzzers.
That would be funny.
Like a trivia show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he buzzed in first.
How many do I do?
Yeah, the buzzer goes smack, smack.
How many? Oh, dang, that's a hard.
We have more people asking about how to buy the goat.
I'm not available.
These customized Quran eating goats, representative of what happened when Muhammad died to some of the surahs while they were mourning Muhammad's death or something, are made by Eric. He did the little Quran inserts, and so they will be available at the Ohio Seek and Share Truth Conference if anybody is interested in them.
That's all I gotta say about it.
Imagine if everyone in the entire world had a Quran shirt, checkmate jihadis, and a screaming goat. Like everyone. And everyone is just live at all times, just ready to go off at any time with the screaming goats.
And a lot of these things that we've been mentioning are
Gotta save the
actually
world.
on the Checkmate Jihadi shirt too, guys. So lots of good stuff on there.
Fashion forward.
Tuna?
One of the reasons that Quran is false because Muslims were not sure whether how many verses Quran supposed to be containing. Current Quran contains 6,236 verses, versus Muslims in early stages were discussing Allah revealed 17,000 verses. So lots of verses are missing. I really don't know like which one would be correct to believe. So I'll take it as
I don't
false.
think even Allah knows.
Shame, shame.
So K will be 89 and 90, so these will be your last two. Everyone else will have one after.
Oh, I okay.
You get two? You got two, right? Because you get yours from this round and then you one from
Yep.
the last round.
Okay, so I have the obvious reason why we're here, the crucifixion. Historically, the pagans know, the Christians know, everybody gets it right, and then Muhammad comes along and is like, hold up, wait a minute. Or you guys already did this one. If you guys already did it.
They're over there chatting whether someone did this one.
Yeah, did we do this one already?
Did we?
Yes,
We're making
we
it
did.
rolling.
We did?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry.
It's invalid.
Okay, I'm just, listen, I
We
got
have our
other
first
ones.
invalid.
Okay, I got other ones. I got
Your
other
memory's
ones.
still
Strike it
better
from the
than-
record.
Okay,
This
Elon.
entire live stream is ruined.
Look, Allah did not remember that he
Just shut it
crucified
down, shut
Jesus
the whole
either.
thing
So
I know,
it's
okay,
fine,
no,
it's fine. Go
it's
ahead.
fine, it's fine. Okay, so we'll move forward. So if we're all to believe and submit to Allah and you're to fight those who don't believe, but according to, what is it, Surah 10:99, that Allah, he could, if he wanted to, make everybody believe in him, but he's like, nah, I don't want everybody to believe in him. So why are you telling people to fight those who don't believe in Allah in the last day, but you, Allah, are holding people back from actually believing? So that's one. Y'all can stop harassing me. And and the other, Allah, he can't understand the concept of father when it comes to God the Father and the Son. But however, in Surah 13 and 39, he has the mother of the book with him. So does she need a boyfriend to make a book? But that's a contradiction in the Quran as well. Stop harassing me again.
Another reason Quran is false because of the order of halal marriage. So, as I expressed, that Quran comes to confirm the Bible. Over and over expresses that actually Quran is in love with the teachings of the Bible. Yet God of the Quran orders men when they divorce their wife, and if they decided to take their wife back, they can't simply send baklava, falafel or chocolates. They need to send their ex-wife to a man for men to have sexual relationship with her, so that she can go back to her first husband. I think that is very disgusting, and I have seen in England suffering of Muslim women who didn't even think that was disgusting. It's been very much practiced. So this level of prostitution and putting the woman under the bandage of slavery to men until they pay the money to men for men to divorce him, it's like ugly and wrong and goes against the Bible. Therefore, it is false book.
Yeah.
Let's take a clap. Let's take a deep clap.
It's like a poetry thing.
Like,
Yeah.
go faster.
No,
Okay.
that's not what
No, it doesn't mean that.
it's a
a
snap
poetry
thing.
Yeah.
It's a signature.
Yeah.
He was
Instead of clapping.
Instead of, because you're too cool to clap.
Instead of clapping,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Because you were on him.
Earlier, I mentioned the 7 heavens and the 7 earths. Interesting fact about the 7 heavens. One, no Muslim can figure out what these things mean. But if you go to the Muslim sources, the 7 heavens are actually these 7 solid domes that are sort of up on top of each other. And they're solid, and they would fall on us if Allah didn't hold them up. So whatever that heaven is, it would actually fall on you if Allah weren't holding it from falling on you. Don't take my word for it. Surah 22, verse 65. Do you not see that Allah has made subservient to you whatever is in the earth and the ships running in the sea by his command? And he withholds the heaven from falling on the earth except with his permission. Most surely Allah is compassionate, merciful to men. Allah holds the heaven up so that it doesn't fall on the earth. And we find something similar in Surah 34, verse 9. See they not what is before them and behind them of the sky and the earth? If we wished, we could cause the earth to swallow them up, or cause a piece of the sky to fall on them. So he holds the entire dome up, but he could allow one big chunk of it to fall on us, but he's merciful, so he holds it up for us. And Muslims, is that, do you think that's an accurate representation of what the heaven is?
Is he using his
I
cold
don't.
hands?
What's that?
Is he using his cold hands to hold the heavens, or is it under his throne?
Yes.
Yes.
He's doing this. Like I'm holding something underneath my chair. So that
But
he's doing
under
this
his
forever.
throne is like quite busy.
Yes, and he has very long arms.
Got a
But
chicken.
remember,
He's got-
both his arms are right arms, right?
Well, he also has a left arm in some
And he also has a
sources,
left
so
arm, so it's one of his
he's
bonus
got
arms.
3 arms,
Yeah,
I
at
guess.
minimum.
One shin.
He also has a bucket of semen that's collecting underneath his throne too,
Yeah.
as we all know.
He's gonna
He
make it
doesn't
rain.
have a wife. I mean,
He's doing that for Muhammad, though. He knows Muhammad really.
I know.
He already has enough on him. That's why he's holding
This
it
is
back.
No, he knows
all
Muhammad's just
wrong.
obsessed
On
with
Judgment
that.
Day, it's gonna be all wrong.
How will people resurrect if not for
We
divine
thought
semen?
Allah was gonna rain down his judgment, but he never mind.
he rains down his eyes.
We're getting close to 100 candles, and we are not even close to being done.
I know.
We still have so
Alright.
many more.
Matthew chapter 28. This contains Jesus' instructions, command to his disciples, at this point 11 by extension, to us as Christians, to what to do. And so if we're going to say we follow Jesus, we love Jesus, we do what Jesus says, we want to be like Jesus, then how can we not do this? Well, the Quran doesn't tell you to do any of this stuff that I'm about to read to you. The Quran contradicts these commands of what's sometimes called the Great Commission. And it shows that Muhammad was not a good disciple of Jesus, and the Quran also is not a good container of Jesus' instruction, and it violates his commands and doesn't obey them. Listen to this. Now the 11 disciples went to Galilee, to the mountain to which Jesus had directed them. When they saw him, they worshipped him. Uh-oh, that's just a side note. It wasn't even going there as the main one, but it's important to see that Jesus received worship, but some doubted, the text says. And Jesus came and said to them, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Could Muhammad say something like that? Could King David say something like that? Nah, only Jesus. Go therefore, so authority, now command, ask yourself, is this done in the pages of the Quran? Is this done by the followers of Muhammad? Is this done by adherents to Islam? Is any of this done by them? Go therefore and make disciples of all nations. Notice it doesn't say make carcasses of all nations. It says make disciples of all nations. Baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. So this triune baptism is what we're supposed to do. It's what we're told to do. Obviously, what happens, you'll hear Muslims say this part was corrupted or added later or something like that. But where's the evidence for that? This is not textual variant. Teaching them to observe all that I have commanded you. Behold, I am with you always to the end of the age. I don't believe in the Quran because it does not adhere to Jesus' final marching orders. Thank you very much. I almost put the page out.
Bring it out. That's right.
You almost snatched a page out of the Bible. You hear that?
Oh!
The goat stopped me.
So the next one on my list would actually be one vocab, at least reference to. You're talking about how false prophets, call on angels, say I received this from angels. For me, it would be the parallels between Joseph Smith and Muhammad. And lo and behold, Joseph Smith goes into the woods, gets met by an angel. Oh, Muhammad goes into a cave, gets met by an angel. The angel gives Joseph Smith special revelations in the form of a type of book or tablets, golden tablets. Muhammad gets the revelations from Allah, which is eventually turned into the Quran. Joseph Smith gets special sexual privileges with his followers. Muhammad gets special sexual privileges with his followers. It seems that in both cases, their respected gods were there to fulfill their every desire. The issue is there are so many parallels between them, it is stunning. So if Islam is true, then why wouldn't Joseph Smith be a prophet? Because he follows the same sort of pattern that Muhammad did whenever he got his revelations, and vice versa. But the problem is both of them can't be true at the same time. They contradict each other. They both claim the Bible was corrupted at some point, and that is the whole reason they had to give their revelations.
Don't forget, they both have a 9/11, 1857.
Oh yeah.
In 2001.
Well, I have to disagree with you because Muhammad never thought that
And he
the
liked little
previous
girls.
scripture was corrupted. Never said it.
Well, the Muslims
The
claim
Muslims
so
claim
now-
it later, but Muhammad believed
Muslims
it
are copying
believed
Mormons.
entirely. Well, one of my favorite stories in the Hadith is that someone accused Muhammad, actually a bunch of people accused Muhammad, that he stole a cloak from the booty before it was time for the distribution. And so people were saying this, and so Allah revealed, far be it from you to accuse your prophet of stealing, kind of thing. Like, his prophet would never steal a cloak. But Allah did not bother to reveal where this stupid cloak was. And we find out where it was when this poor slave, who was a Muslim, got killed, and then they're like, oh, so-and-so, he was a martyr, so he is in Jannah. And Muhammad's like, I got a revelation. He's not a martyr because he's the one who stole the cloak. And I betcha that the cloak was miraculously found after that too. To confirm that indeed this slave, who's conveniently dead and unable to answer, stole the cloak that everybody thought they saw Muhammad steal. So the fact that Muhammad magically got a revelation from Allah after this dude was dead, absolutely ridiculous.
All right, we're very nearly at the end. I picked the right seat. I get one more after this. This is my second to last one. Heard me mention earlier that the Quran gives 3 tests for itself. The first one that we discussed anyway, not necessarily first revealed. I don't know the order of revelation offhand, but the first one we discussed was not containing much contradiction. This one, it's at least a necessary condition. One could argue that the Word of God would have to be free of contradiction, but it's certainly not sufficient. The second, the Sir Like It challenge, Muslims do go to sometimes. Every once in a while you make a contradiction thing. Sometimes you hear Sir Like It. It's supposed to be a symbol of pride, but it's totally idiotic. It's totally idiotic, as has been demonstrated. But in comparison, to the third reason, both of those seem downright genius. Because the third test the Quran gives of itself, you've probably never heard any Muslim, or probably anyone else unless you heard David Wood say it, because it is so stupid that people wouldn't even understand it to be a test. The Quran establishes the principle that you should believe Islam is the truth because Muhammad supports you, Jews and Christians. He supports your religion, therefore his religion is also true. What an amazing principle. So all I have to do is say I support you, and then you have of course, he doesn't actually support our doctrine, but just say he supports us. Therefore, he must be telling the truth about everything, because he agreed with us about something on paper. So that is my second to last reason.
Oh my goodness.
I think that one of the,
Wow.
I think that
You're late.
Right on
the
time.
rest of
Right
our
on
reasons
time.
have just showed up.
Right on time when we're in the 90s already.
So I will give.
Everybody in this place. I know.
Are you guys willing to do bonus ones and let the last two go to our latest guests, or do you want to do it and let them do the bonus ones since they're late?
I think they should do the bonus, since they're probably going to have to try a couple times to get something nailed.
Yeah.
Okay. So mine is a two-parter. So when we look at Quran Surah 7, Ayah 178, we see whoever Allah guides, he is the rightly guided, and whoever he sends astray, it is those who are the losers. So according to the Quran, it's not up to us whether we choose to accept the gift of Allah, whatever that would be, because that's not even an Islamic thing. But it's up to him. And yet we also see that Allah does not love the disbelievers, which is very strange considering he's the one who decides who the disbelievers are. So yeah, we see that in Surah 3:32. Verily, Allah does not love the unbelievers. So that's part one, but part two would be that Allah really is not love at all. In fact, we see over and over that Allah only loves those who follow him, except no one can truly follow him. In fact, he makes it impossible to be a true Muslim, because if you follow Muhammad, you can't be a true Muslim. If you don't follow Muhammad, you can't be a true Muslim. The standards are all over the place, and it's rigged against you. Allah does love those who rely upon him, but again, it's all up to him. He loves the God-fearing, but again, it's all up to him. Ultimately, he doesn't love the unbelievers. He doesn't love the ungrateful sinner. He doesn't love the unjust. He doesn't love those who spread corruption. He doesn't love the transgressors. He doesn't love the oppressors. And it goes on and on and on. He doesn't love the treacherous. And so we see this, and yet when we look at the gospel, for example, in 1 John 4:7 through 12, we see that God is love. And we see that Allah is not loving. So I reject Islam because according to Islam, I guess Allah is forcing me to. But more importantly, according to reality, because it's false. And also I reject Islam because I know that God is love and Allah is not. So those are my final two.
So I have a question for you on that, Al. Does Allah love the proud?
Nope. And we're proud of that. We're proud of it. It's still one of my favorite short videos by you, David.
Which one?
The Ali Dawah one. You just read the sources and stuff and go,
Yeah.
Allah does not love. Allah does not
Oh,
love.
yeah.
Allah does not love.
Hey,
And
check out
then-
your super chat.
But
Oh, hey, Eli. He says, hi everyone, love you all. Sorry Al couldn't make it. Aw. It is my only living 80-year-old uncle decided to pay me for a visit. We'll be praying for you. Well, you will be missed, but thank you very much for being here with us on here, and we hope to see you again another time.
But that is, what is
Hey,
what is
Eli,
power of
wait.
99 names?
Eli, why you care about? Why
I
you
got
care,
reason number 99.
The proud.
why you care about? Why you care about that 80-year-old uncle and not us?
Maybe if you were 8 years old, he'd also care about you.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about me until I feel like I'm 80, but.
You look like it.
All right, so I got reason number 99. Looking at this Quran, it seems to be in
What?
pretty poor shape.
I got like 50 more.
I know, right?
Yeah, I have a video, 100 Reasons Islam is False, and I don't think we've even done half the reasons I did in that video. That's
Well,
how
no,
many
because I
things-
mean, you got humiliated by Scythe Talk.
Yeah. So we had to come up with new, better reasons. We had to aggregate those reasons. But anyway, as I was saying, I got reason number 99. This Quran's in some pretty poor shape.
Yeah, you want to show it off a little bit? We can do a close up and live it. But
No one can change all those words. You guys are kidding.
Yeah, it's in pretty poor shape. There's all kinds of pages missing from this Quran. Especially up here. All
We're
these
just
pages
helping
gone.
abrogate it. It's doing Allah's work.
Well, you know, 3 to the number 99, Allah has 99 names. Muhammad, strangely, has 212 names, a bit more than Allah. Raise the question, what is Islam? I mean, a Muslim's going to tell, like, where does the doctrine of Islam come from? Muslim will, of course, average Muslim, of course, say, oh, it's the Quran, it's the Quran, it's the Quran. That's where Islam comes from. More knowledgeable Muslim might say, oh, it's the Quran and the Hadith. But actually, they're both wrong. This Quran is in shreds. Doesn't matter. Has nothing to do with Islam.
Disrespectful. Go ahead.
Has nothing to do with Islam, that Quran. The Hadith actually don't establish Islam either. You know what establishes Islam? The authoritative interpretation of what the Quran or the Hadith say. In other words, the scholars. They're considered infallible. The consensus of scholars is considered infallible in Islam. What every common Muslim believes is Islam doesn't come from the Quran. It doesn't come from the Hadith. It comes from tradition of the scholars established over a long period of time. Islam is not the Word of God. It's a human creation. It's the work of human beings over a period of time to establish tradition and call it the religion of God. That is my final reason.
And I get reason 100. And I was very happy to learn this because I think I have a very excellent reason 100. Who does the Dajjal, what name does the Dajjal have? He's the false what? He is the false Christ. But if Allah did not tell you through Muhammad that he has one eye, who would everyone think he is? Allah. So your false Christ looks identical to Allah. I want all the Muslims to think about this for a while. If you were not told about the Dajjal having one eye, you would mistake him for your Lord. Yet he is a false Christ. That means that the true Christ is God. Just so that you know, even in your sources, Muhammad couldn't keep things straight. He kept tripping himself constantly. He kept accidentally referring to things in such a way that you end up with actual legitimate theology because he was trying to steal from things. And he thought he understood them at first, but he didn't. And he kept stealing from things that ended up saying that Christ is Lord over and over and over again. He would steal from different things, thinking he was saying something else, not understanding what the point of the story that he was taking from was. No matter whether or not it was a Gnostic thing, or a legend, or a folk tale, over and over and over again, the sources that he was taking from prove that Jesus is Lord. And yet, Muhammad, it like snuck up on him over and over again, that he kept accidentally confirming the sonship and godhood of Jesus Christ. And to believe in this ridiculous book, this horrible, disgusting, pathetic, violent man who was much worse, the only reason he survived is because all of his relatives were far better people than he was. They did not do to him what he would have done to them in a heartbeat, and did do. He put a sword at their throats, told them to accept. After starving them out for years, he worked years to starve them out, till they were weak, hungry, and then put a sword at their necks and said, accept me as your prophet or die. And they never did that to him. Whenever they did the boycott of the Hashemites, people snuck food to him. They didn't maintain the boycott because they cared about him, because they had more humanity and decency in their little fingers than he did in his entire pathetic body. Quit following this deceiver and turn to the person he keeps accidentally pointing toward, the Lord Jesus Christ.
That's right.
And would you like to be...
Yeah, so tradition in America, I don't know about other places, is to give whatever number of spankings it is for your birthday. So the Quran just got 100 spankings, I think.
And no bonus.
But you got the bonus pinch.
You said
Girl.
spankings?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got punched each.
Yeah.
That's because you're
It's just in the
Yes,
arm
you
of
punch
the chest,
in the
but you have to
same
take a
spot
shot
over
from
and
every
over.
male in your family for however old you are.
That's because you're from a trailer park.
I have to say, not just it was like that in prison too. You would have guys hiding their entire birth, like running, like hiding all over the prison so that they didn't get the crap beat out of them on their birthday.
To be fair, that sounds much better than getting spanked that many times in prison by a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, getting spanked there would be bad.
In any case, there's also the pinch to grow an inch. Anthony, would you like to give the Quran a pinch?
So we're giving reasons why.
Reason why Islam is
We
welcome.
just gave 100.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'll piggyback off of Mary. So the hadith that she made reference to say that the Dajjal is one-eyed, your Lord is not. Also in connection with this, there's another side problem where it often has an immediacy connected with this, an imminency. So this is expected to happen soon, which obviously it hasn't, at least not according to Muslims who still expect the Dajjal to come. But Muhammad also stressed that it was to his contemporaries. He'll soon descend among you, right? Meaning the Messiah, who's going to put down the Dajjal. But the specific thing that I wanted to zero in on is this idea that Allah can be distinguished from the Dajjal by virtue of the fact that he's not one-eyed. Interestingly, in the Quran, when it talks about Allah having eyes, which Muslims in history have understood literally, and I think there's ample reason to think that's how Muhammad understood it. Some of the statements in the Quran don't just entail that Allah has two eyes, but that he has at least three, because it uses the plural, not the dual. And so instead of just having two eyes, in distinction from the Dajjal, he has at least three or more. So Allah is this freakish looking thing. And so one of the things that I've thought, I mean, the big problem here obviously is that Allah is now identified as a...
Identified?
No pun intended. But Allah is understood anthropomorphically, and this entails then that he's not the creator of heaven and earth. If he has eyes, then there's a larger context in which he exists. And if you say he made it, I mean, what are these eyes doing prior to creation? What are they looking at? Maybe his other body parts, because he's not limited to three eyes. It's not like there's three eyes floating out there, right? These eyes are attached to other monstrous features, like a shin. And Muslims are very strict here, right? So they don't infer like we might. If it mentions a shin, then he has two, because most of us would assume he's proportionate, right? So if there's one shin mentioned, then you can assume there's another one. But that's not how Muslims reason.
Nope.
You can't assert anything for Allah that wasn't asserted for him by himself or his messenger. So the mention of only one shin means you can only affirm one shin. So you don't have anything explicitly saying that this shin is connected to a knee or the rest of the leg. But he's got feet. And by the way, before you say, how do you know there's 2 feet? Because there are hadith that talk about him putting his foot on hell and saying, no more, right? He fills up hell with his foot so that it's full. But Muslims say because the sources make reference to the kursi, the footstool, it's the place for the feet. So since it's the place for the feet, then Allah must have at least 2 feet. So he does have 2 feet, but that means 2 feet, 1 shin. But there's nothing explicit saying that the shin is connected to the feet, right? And nothing explicit explaining the relationship of all these anatomical features. So when you start trying to put together 1 shin, a couple of feet, 3 eyes, a face, you can't assume that they all belong in, it's like a Mr. Potato Head. You could put the pieces in different places, right? You don't have to put them where you could naturally assume.
Hey,
So-
you should make a Mr. Potato Head of all, but only the parts that declare, that the Muslim sources declare Allah has, and then show people by arranging them differently.
Yeah, and it reminds me, so, because one question that would come up is it even right to assume a potato head is sort of the central thing that these things are connected to? Where do we get that? Well, there are some things, but remember, Ibn Khuzaimah, he's actually one of the famous hadith scholars in the history of Islam. Not a lot of people know about him, but he was a major collector of hadith, and he was a thoroughgoing anthropomorphist, and he said, if we don't believe that Allah has eyes and hands and face and so forth, then what we're worshiping is a watermelon. Right, so this is his idea.
That's the whole free Palestine movement right now.
Is it?
Yeah, the watermelon is their symbol.
Wow.
You see?
That makes
Yeah, it is.
sense.
I was wondering what the deal with that is. Why is that a why? Why is that a thing? Do you know?
Because it's
I
easy
thought
to
it was just the
shuffle.
colors. I thought it was just the colors because it's
Oh,
green
'cause
and
it's
red
green,
and
red,
black
and
seeds.
okay.
The watermelon? Sure about that? Okay.
Well, so here is his reasoning. So in Surah 7, 195, it ridicules the pagan idols for having feet but not being able to walk, eyes but not being able to see. But the way it states it, it's almost like it's trying to say what the Bible says when it ridicules idolatry, but it states it in a way that entails if Allah doesn't have eyes, then he can't see. If he doesn't have feet, then he can't walk, kind of thing. And so this is the reasoning of Ibn Khuzaimah. So he has to have these appendages. So the assumption is that there's this central connecting hub, I guess, to which all these things attach. And if you don't assign to him these things, then he's just this amorphous blob. So that's the given. And then the Quran adds all these things to him. So he's either a watermelon or he's got all these appendages. Either one strikes me as a good reason to reject Islam.
So we've actually got another super chat that
No
I think
page
would
for
be great for you to respond to, since I know you've touched on this a lot, as an extra bonus, and then we've got an extra bonus from somebody else as well. But the super chat says, from Mossad's Leather Straps, says, trying to learn the Quran and was wondering if Allah was the one who revealed the Torah, then why does it say we revealed the Torah in Surah 5:44 through 45? Is Allah more than one, or is this short?
So
Hey, if you're letting these guys speak, you need to give time limits. It's almost 11 time limits. You need to say, hey, you have 2 minutes. He can do it. He can do it in 1 minute. But if you don't give him a time limit, he will talk on this issue for 20 minutes right now, I guarantee you.
It's interesting how it connects to yet another passage.
well, so
This brings up
here's what I
the
would say.
37th issue
Here's
of this point.
Which kind of reminds
The
me.
long, the reason I take so long is because David interrupts. No, you could go on answeringislam.org. I have 50 pages I wrote on this topic.
You see?
So that's
You see?
that's where you get the long version.
People
of this.
think I'm exaggerating.
But here's the thing. So number one, Muslims will claim, as if it's just obvious, this is just a Arabic convention of speech, like the plural of majesty. The Queen of England said, "We are not amused." She obviously didn't mean that she was more than one person. The problem is, as Muslim scholars themselves point out, for example, M.A.S. Abdel Halim, well-recognized scholar of Islam, even translated his own version of the Quran, he said there was no such thing as a plural of majesty in Arabic at the time the Quran was revealed, allegedly revealed. Number two, if you look in the Sirah, when the Christians of Najran went up to ask Muhammad about his purported revelations, which they heard from people that he was sending down to them, one of the things they asked him about was, if Allah is only one, why does he say, we created, we decreed, we send down? And notice this, these are, though Christians, they're Arabs. They know the Arabic language, right? They were 7th century Arabs. They don't say, oh yeah, plural of majesty, that's obvious. They're questioning him. They think this makes no sense. Number 3, the same Syria literature says that Muhammad did not give them an answer. They had other questions too. He didn't give them an answer until the next day. What was Allah's grand answer? Well, supposedly he sent down the first 80 verses of Surah 3, Surah Al-Imran, and the only thing that even remotely touches on this is verse 7, which is a whole bundle of problems in itself, where Allah says there are some things in His marvelous book that only He understands. Anybody that tries to understand them has a diseased heart and is pursuing fitna. So if you try to understand these things that Allah told you in the Quran on pain of death, then you've got a diseased heart. So Allah doesn't give an answer.
I have a pretty likely answer, actually. I think that the Jews...
If you want me to keep going, that's what I give in the articles, is where he picks it up from the recitations he would hear from Jews and Christians, where reciting scripture, God does speak in the plurals.
I think that the Jews just challenged him. Oh, but here, God speaks in the plural. Why is that? He answered, well, God just sometimes does that. And then started inserting it at that point, because the early ayat do not have the we. It's the stuff that's inserted later that we begins. So at the beginning, he's an I and a he, but he's never a we. He's never a they, but he doesn't become a we until later things get put in.
Is he ever a Z-zer?
He probably would be if somebody had asked at that time, but nobody thought to ask.
Huh.
Strange.
Well, we do know he has gonads. That's a whole other topic.
Yeah, Allah's womb.
The
He has a womb too, so,
the
you
womb
know.
reached it. Now you got to do the hadith right. The hadith says that this primordial womb
Grab.
once reached up and grabbed Allah, and the hadith says stop it. But you got to imagine the scenario. The womb is reaching up and grabbing Allah where it counts, so Allah literally had to say, "Stop it." Like, that's how you properly express that.
So I'm not sure if our extra bonus guest wants to remain as much of a mystery as why the Quran does what it does, but what is your favorite reason why the Quran is to be rejected and Islam is to be rejected?
One second on this pronouns thing. It might be a good. It might be a good little tweak. Just say, what are Allah's preferred pronouns, and just have the verses with the different pronouns. Sorry.
What's the question again?
All right. So what's your favorite reason to reject the Quran and Islam? Because we're celebrating the imperfect preservation of the Quran. We have some lovely cakes that we'll go over here in a minute and stick our candles in them and close out. But since you arrived, we'd love to hear your favorite reason. We've all been giving 100 reasons plus some bonus ones.
Well, I don't know if I have a favorite reason, but I have no reason to have it be acceptable. Muslims have never given me a valid, credible reason to accept Islam as something revealed by our Creator.
What about the shin?
No.
What about the mole on Muhammad's back?
No, in fact, with the mole, Muhammad had there's a hadith where there was a medical doctor that offered to remove the mole from Muhammad's back, and he refused. He said, "You are just a physician, but Allah he says, you're just a scientist, but Allah's the physician." And so he kept his pet mole.
72 glories.
I think that's the perfect reason to end it with, actually, that there's no reason to believe in Islam.
But one thing, so one of my favorite stories on the mole is the guy, I can't remember his name, he heard about the mole that proved Muhammad's prophethood. And so at one point he's giving Muhammad like this massage or something, and the way the hadith describes it is like he let his hands wander right away from where he was massaging to where he could find the mole. And then he describes it as having hairs and so forth. But the picture painted is of this man.
Was that Diha al-Khaldi?
Stop it.
Pretty suggestive. And why is Muhammad letting this man's hands wander without saying anything? There's nothing in the hadith that Muhammad objected. Watch where you're putting those hands.
You should have said it.
No, first Muhammad did it, and then the guy said, "I need retaliation, O prophet." I've seen that before.
That's what I've been wanting.
Did you know that Allah possibly has a third hand?
Yeah, we
Yeah.
mentioned that earlier because Mary was talking about his two right hands, and I brought up that he has actually.
And I've asked Arabic speakers on that, and it seems to speak of the right side, but the context is a reference to a hand, like he puts it on his right hand, or left hand. I'm sorry. So he has two right hands and possibly a left. So
Well,
that monstrosity
I
just
have a
gets
running
worse.
speculation. It's wild, but everything else is in Islam. But I'm wondering if one of those two right hands, because there's nothing necessitating that these are fixed, right?
So if he tries to clap,
So
it's going to
what if,
like
have you ever seen those
really
like
mess.
those dolls that you could turn parts of them, right? What if you could like move the arm from one side to the other? I don't know why not.
Yeah, so he has two arms, but one of them moves around. So
Yeah, one of them, yeah, flip-flops. I don't know. Just a speculation.
Well, there's nothing like Allah's creation.
But, well, now we know why.
That's kind of like the T-1000 bell.
So, on that note, since we've completed our 100 candles,
Hey.
let me show you what this beautiful Quran cake looks like.
Don't spill it, don't spill it.
I'm waiting for it to hit the ground.
You see?
Joke.
Allah destroyed them.
So, since Hatun has done a lovely job of showing the holes in the narrative, and David did a lovely job of making her a customized Quran, I modeled this one after it. Does that look okay on there? I can't see both at the same time.
Yeah, it's clear enough.
So, it says
Yep.
Quran, quote, perfectly preserved, and then on that note, for less than 100 years, because, yep, still been edited since the Cairo edition. But I think this is a good enough cake to go ahead and stick all of our candles in. So, somebody in the comments mentioned what we're going to do to these
Did you get
candles
good pictures of
afterwards.
that first?
No, I can get some pictures.
These are
It's,
good pictures.
it's not that good, but
Are we gonna sing happy birthday?
yeah, we can, but we gotta get the candles in first, don't we? All right.
Well, I mean, we can.
Well,
we can
okay,
sing.
you want to
All
picture
those
first?
candles.
So, Terrence D'Souza says, burn the Quran at the end of the stream. Well, what else are you supposed to do with Quranagami candles? Besides, we gotta be liking with Mon. Belt for Speed 101 reminds you guys, lightly strike that like button.
Seriously,
So, let me get some pictures real quick, and some other ones real quick before I do that. Somebody, do you wanna grab some pictures? I also made these little ones before they just started horribly falling apart. So we've got an upside down Arabic Quran, the Truly Holy Edition. Oh, I still gotta put a hole in that to make it the Truly Holy Edition. And same with this one, the Quran, the Truly Holy Edition. Unless anybody else would like to do the honors of that. Did you get pictures of that?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I'll get pictures afterwards.
And we're gonna stuff it with our candles. Anybody wanna put holes in the
They'll
cakes?
fit. Okay, look how they go.
Holes in the Quran, anybody?
They're not doing it like regular birthday candles. Okay, stick them all in that giant. Actually, let me come out. It'll fit.
There we go.
And yeah, this cake just like fell apart. Not as bad as the Quran. It's messy too, but not quite as messy as the Quran. But you know, it tried. It really tried. So just making our nice little mouse. And a cool thing about the mouse ears too is in Islam, the mouse is seen as a little corruptor. But when we play word games, like they try to with Song of Solomon and Mahmoudin and all that jazz, we could do the same and say that Allah is a mouse, Allahu Akbar. So Allah is the corruptor, the ultimate corruptor, not
Can you
just a little
explain
corruptor.
why Akbar, why you're saying he's a mouse?
Go for it.
Oh, I thought you were.
Go ahead.
Well, in Hebrew, Akbar it means mouse.
Hey, it's funny. That's still the case. 'Cause when I saw that years ago, I just assumed it was like ancient Hebrew, that
No.
like it'd be different today. And then we asked them in the chat one day, because the Jews in the chat were pointing it out, and I was like, wait, you guys still? That's exactly what
So-
we hear. That's exactly what we hear when they say Allahu Akbar.
You know it doesn't say Allah kabir. It says akbar, not the biggest, the greatest, but bigger.
Allahu Akbar.
Because, yeah, Allahu Akbar, but it's not Allahu al-Kabir. It's just bigger.
Right.
So it's a comparative, it's not the superlative. I found out in ancient inscriptions, and then there are like sayings of like what people were chanting about their gods at various times, even in the Islamic sources, that in fact it was Allah who is called great. Not the greatest, but great. So what they were shouting whenever they said Allah was greater, He's greater than Allah. Because the old chant that was recorded even like in very ancient times, that Allah is great, and Allah is greater than Allah, which is hilarious.
We've also got this final page. We had some
David was posing in color.
things.
I was about to text
It's a little hard to see, but this is a Quran eating joke. So
The walking Quran.
Oh, you can do it inside.
All right, I got them all.
So you guys should be
Candles.
Yep.
They fucking seem.
Oh, yeah.
let me see. I'm gonna actually flip this around so I can try to see and just walk around with it.
Hey, check this out, check this out, check this out.
Do the honors of lighting.
We have.
All right, hold on. This is cool, this is
All right,
cool.
all right.
That's one.
Your influence.
This is me before I got this Quran shirt. This is me now.
Actually, we have to get a few more because the children who are the back of the class children did not do all of their homework.
What, they didn't do their homework?
They did not do their homework.
I got one,
They
Mary.
didn't do their homework.
Did
There's
mine
one
get
that
put in?
didn't
Because I
get
forgot to put mine in.
Sorry, Katie.
I think these are all
Hopefully they made
in.
it. Yep, mine made it. Anybody
And,
else?
that- this was the other page.
Any other Koronagami candles?
She's got a couple.
You got all the ones I made.
Yeah,
I liked your
and I gotta get
stuffing
two
that
more
goes
that you
like
guys
That
this.
seems
made.
like all of them.
Put that thing on, David. You'll be like the Statue of Liberty on your head.
So let me see.
You need to throw those at people, at demons, those stuff.
I'm scared to ship it up too far,
It's good.
but I'm trying to show off the Koranness of it. But yeah, we could get this on photo for better for people, but
Make sure you don't drop it.
Don't drop it.
It's getting really vertical. It's getting really vertical. All right.
so we might need some help getting these to light all properly at the same time. 100 candles is a lot.
They're paper.
We're not
So,
doing it.
Yeah, we're not doing it in here, but we do have some help, so stay tuned to find out more about what happens with this. But yeah, something probably along the lines of Uthman, just to celebrate Islamically.
And we need to prep ahead of time. They won't burn for very long. Anybody who wants to have it.
So I think we're gonna close out the live stream portion of this.
Someone just turned off the lights on.
Yeah, like you're done, you're done.
It's a sign!
It's a gin, they got the lights.
So if anybody wants to say any final goodbyes, I think we're gonna tune out of here and we will catch you later.
Thanks for watching, everyone.
More to come.
Oh, we're gonna set them.
Thank you guys all so much for being here and God bless you. Oh, we have one more super chat. Okay, one more super chat. So anyway says, I just laughed, literally belly laughed when I saw that Mickey Mouse hole in the narrative cut out of Big Crunch Cake. Hilarious. Yes, thank you to all who have contributed to that. So, bye for now, and hopefully we might even see you tomorrow. God bless.
Here, get on my.
Stay away from Islam. Since he's not here to say that.
Well, we're gonna roast that.
Jesus Christ is Lord.
We're gonna.